This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another One Filmmaker, One Film, except this time it's one producer, three films. And today my guest is...
I am Dustin Hubbard. I am a producer who works typically in low-budget horror, thriller type genres down in Florida. I've produced over 80 movies. I got started back in about 2006 with my production company, Seaward Productions, and I'm still going strong today with no sign of stopping.
Awesome. And thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. So
I appreciate being asked.
Oh, yeah. Well, and see, you bring up Seaward Productions, and I took a couple pictures here.
Uh-oh.
So you look like you have evolved. If I could get this thing to turn properly. Where is it? Portrait. There we go. So it looks like early on, Seaward Productions was this guy.
Yes.
And then you turned into this guy.
Yes. Notice there's a baby doll theme right there on the very first film that I produced. I also wrote and directed. It hasn't come out yet for numerous reasons, called For Christ's Sake. We were shooting in a trailer owned by one of the other producers' college roommate's recently deceased mother.
Oh.
And in the trailer, there was a large baby doll. And over the course of shooting there, the doll kept moving from place to place. We would leave, go do shots somewhere else, come back, the doll would be in a different spot, or it'd be in a different room, it'd be sitting a different way. So she had passed in the back bedroom. So
creepy.
Okay, the place is haunted. Definitely didn't end up being the first haunted location that I've been in, but the doll kind of became like the unofficial mascot for Seaward. So, and that doll is still in my storage unit to this day, which I'm sure that you can appreciate. So,
yes, and that's funny is I work at a storage facility,
yep.
And I want to make a short film this year called The Doll, about a guy who finds this doll and he sets it in a chair, and then he wakes up the next morning and then it's in the kitchen, and then he comes back from work and it's in the living room.
Are you
and he
serious?
has no idea what's going on with this doll, of why it's moving. So this is very strange.
Man, I should go dig the doll's in the storage unit because I don't like the doll. I don't want to get rid of it, but I kind of don't want it in my house. So I should get it and send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to have, because I do have the doll I was going to use, but there's no history to it.
Yeah,
it's just like an old Halloween doll. But that would be cool to have a doll with history. Oh, I lost you with some sound.
I just said that was, kind of the tip of the iceberg with some of the creepy shit that happened in that trailer. So,
do you think it's actually haunted, or do you think somebody was just messing with you?
I do think it was haunted. Yeah, on the night one, me and the producer who knew the deceased woman's daughter, Michael Kenneth Farr, we slept in the back bedroom that was her bedroom on the wrap on night one, and I slept in this corner. He slept in the opposite corner of the room.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. There was sound and video problems, and I really liked what we were talking about, so we'll just continue with that for just a second. So I'm not sure if people heard, but I did ask, do you think the doll is haunted, or do you think somebody was just messing with you?
I do think that there was something not natural going on. Yeah. So the doll was one of many things that didn't feel normal in that trailer. So trailer was a very creepy shooting location, and the doll would move around on its own a lot. You know, there was the on night one, one of the other producers and I had slept in the back bedroom, which was the mother's bedroom, and it's where she had passed. And I was sleeping in one corner, he was sleeping in the opposite corner of the room, and it was, you know, early the next morning. I felt a pressure on my upper right thigh, and I didn't really think too much of it at first, and then it tightened, and it felt like a hand squeezing my leg really hard, and it woke me up. And I jumped up and I yelled at him. I was like, "What are you doing?" You know, he's on the other side of the room, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Were you just fucking with me in my sleep?" And he's like, "No, I'm trying to sleep. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not sleeping in this room anymore."
Oh, wow.
And I didn't. Every other night, I fell asleep in every other room and position in that trailer humanly possible, to the point of actually like falling asleep leaning against walls and crap. But I was like, I'm not sleeping in that room ever again.
Wow. See, I would actually have to experience something like this. I brought this up with a couple other people. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't believe in UFOs. I don't. You could say, I'll pay you $1 million to sleep in the most haunted cemetery. Nothing would happen. Nothing. I would go fall asleep and get my $1 million. So it's one of those things where I think that you kind of have to believe in these things to actually experience them. And if you don't believe in it, just nothing ever happens. But it's like that second that something enters your brain, like, did that doll move, or what was that creaking sound? You've now into all this stuff has now entered your brain, and you're, you know, and so, but if you don't, Stephen King has that story 1402 that talks about that with John Cusack, and where he doesn't believe in any of that, and then he just out of the corner of his eye he spots something, and then boom, it just all happens. So it's interesting, people's experiences or non-experiences. So, but I would really have to be plopped in the cemetery or the house or whatever it might be to, you know, to really believe in those types of things. But I don't think that people are wrong when they do experience them. So it's just, for me, I'm more of a, you know, Bigfoot has to like walk right up to me and go, "I'm Bigfoot," and, you know, for me to believe in him, so, or her. I don't want to say that there's only male Bigfoot male big feet. But we are here today to discuss three films, and I'm going to show them first, and then we're going to look at a couple other things. We're going to really get into talking about Ouija Mummy. There we go. We're going to look at that, and we're also going to look at the second one will be Evil Curiosity. And then the third one I don't have a physical copy of. I watched it on Amazon Prime, and that is Slaughter Daughter. But before we look at these, I've now kind of gotten into this thing where I show my collection to the person that I'm interviewing. And I'm going to start off first with one that I did watch your trilogy of shorts called Inheritance 1, 2, and 3 from Handmade Horror. There it is. Yep. And now this has got to be old school, because this looks like it's almost like a copy out of like a printer.
Yeah, that's an old thing. Those shorts were released, goodness, I want to say maybe back in like 08, 09-ish.
That's what the copyright on this is, yeah.
Yeah, we shot them around 07, 08-ish, I believe. Myself and a colleague of mine, Michael Kenneth Farr, we had a brief association with a company called Scream Kings, and they asked us if we could make some shorts for them, and they gave a generic plot of we're thinking two roommates and they try and kill each other. And Michael was like, that's too generic. I'm going to come up with something completely more complex. He came up with an idea. We shot the first one. Had enough fun. We ended up making 2 more of them and just had a pretty kind of like continuous story. I think all 3 of them together run about 50 minutes. So
yeah, each one got longer. Yeah, I think like the first one was like 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes. And then the second one was like 17. And then I think the third one was like 22. So they got them all listed down. If I can get it in there, down there. So, and whenever you send me something, you always put a little goodie inside. So let's see what's inside this one. So yes, there. And you even signed this for me. So there's your signature right there, which I appreciate. And you signed this too. So it's a for Evil Curiosity. So you put that in there. And the Inheritance card. And you also signed it for the new film.
For the feature film, yep, because Michael ended up writing a script for, and we made a feature-length version back in 19. He and I played the brothers in the shorts, which were all mostly improv. In the feature film, he reprises his role, but I did not play my role in the feature. I let a far more capable actor take over that spot. So, but I was involved behind the scenes. So, and if you watch real close during the climax, you'll see me in the background as a waiter. So,
okay, there you go. At least you're in there somewhere. And this tells you about how old school this is. It's just a DVD-R. Nobody even wrote on it. It's just a blank DVD-R. So that's one of the first things that you sent me. And then we have some films that you worked on with Seb, and who I interviewed not too long ago on here. So you worked on Slimoids.
Yep.
So we got that. And and you can sign it for me right there. And then this has inside of it this cool. I like that. I like how the hole's right in her eye. Seb said that was intentional.
Yeah.
Seb got him. So that's, and then we got the Like a Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from the original crowdfunding that I was part of.
Yes, that's the Indiegogo release version.
And then when I got it has these cards in it. So one of them, I don't know if you're attached to this or not, but it's Seb with Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes, I actually wrote Jekyll versus Hyde, and I am.
Okay, okay, good. So good. I don't feel bad showing it. And then based on his content. Okay, and then we got this cool little card here for Ouija Mummy.
Nice, which I also wrote and produced that as well.
Yes, you did many things on this, and we will get to that.
Yeah, I did.
Dino Gore.
Dino Gore, yep.
And this is something that I even have a little part in near the end, so that's pretty cool. And then, and all of these you signed for me, which is pretty cool. And then we have this card for Like a Mayor.
All right, yep.
And yeah, these are a little bit nicer. So I think... So Slimoids, I think I put into a green box because I felt that it should be in a green box. This, I think...
That Slimoids version was originally distributed through Kunaki, and I will say on Seb's interview, he said that it was something that I distributed, but that was actually self-distributed by him originally, so through Kunaki. So you would have gotten a black case, yes. So you definitely,
yeah. So I thought it was appropriate to do green. I did it with Reanimator and Creepazoids and stuff like that too.
Give it a little bit more visual flair, so which is fitting considering it's a pretty slimy movie. So.
Yes, I thought so. So this was nice to get, and I'll never, I will never part with it. Then we have the 2 different covers for Dino Gore, which are cool. So the black and white versions. Is there a reason for the 2 different covers?
I think the main thought process was just that we had 2 really dope poster images, and it was a waste to not use both of them. So I don't grab those while you can, because I don't know how much longer. I don't know if both of those will remain in print forever. So.
And then Slimoids and Dinogore are also now being released through SOV Video. I forgot to grab that box. It's over there, but I forgot to grab it. But yeah, so now that's SOV Horror for right now.
Yep.
And then you sent me these. I'm pretty sure you're the one who sent me these. I don't think Seb did.
Probably, but yeah.
These are cool.
Shin Godzilla inspired Slimoids cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each featuring each of our title characters.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, you can see how well I've kept them. So I really like them. They're actually pressed between cardboard. And then I got
righty
and then there's also the poster for Lycanator too. And I have the novelization for it also.
Awesome. Yeah,
so those are some of the Seb era that I have. And then we get into the JHP era, the Jack Hunter era, and that would start with Horror Nights.
Nice. Yep.
So we got that, which I think I'm going to say all of these I got from you. I don't think I actually got these actually from Jack. I think you sent me all of this stuff for like all of the.
Yeah.
And then the first, this is DVD for the Paranoia Tapes. So that's the first one. And and you sent me stuff in that one too. Let's see, what did you send me in this one? Mr. E.
Okay, that's a short I produced with Kai Hornick, who was one of the actors in like Animator and Ouija Mummy.
Cool. Oh yeah. Okay. And then another Curiosity Kills. We have King James.
I actually have an acting cameo in that one as a crime boss.
Sweet. And then the Haunting of Miyamoto.
Nice, which is available currently for streaming now. Streaming, download, and digital from Jake Selch, starring Nicola Fiore and Brink Stevens.
Oh, always good to have Brink Stevens.
Definitely.
And then since I have so many of these, we'll quickly just go through them. So there's like the Paranoia Tapes 2.
Yep.
So that's these were the first 3 that I got from you. So this one didn't have any treats in it because I think they were all put inside the first one. Because I bought the first 3 DVDs, but they're the first 4 films through you.
Yeah.
So then here's 3 and 4. And I don't think, yeah. And then recently I just got the Greatest Hits.
Oh, yeah. Which is out of print now. Can't get that anymore.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad I got it. And then there's the director's cut.
Okay.
Part
1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regeneration. Yep. Cool.
That one's coming. Wait, that one's coming up because then I also that's this one.
Okay, there we go.
So, are these two the same thing, just like re-edited?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I believe that the one in your left hand is the same as.
Oh, I'm sorry, left hand.
But I could be wrong. I'm not for certain. I actually don't have an inventory of those newer versions yet. So.
Okay. And I don't think there's no. I mean, it's nice that they have like the cards inside. I like that because these are Kanaki, I would assume. And then part 2, part 3, and these are the ones I got directly through you. So these are a little bit different than the brand new ones that are out. 4.
They are.
5, 6. Covers are always interesting.
Yeah, they have some cool covers.
7. 8 DVD plus, and then 9 DVD minus. So that's pretty much everything I think that I got from you. And then with the films that we're going to be looking at, so with Ouija Mummy, which I really like that cover.
Yeah, that cover is great.
That's a great
favorite.
That's a great picture.
Great shot of Brianna Wyman on the back.
And this is released through Wild Eye Releasing, and it has audio commentary and it has some trailers. This came out in 2019, so it's still pretty new. And this I think I ordered this through Wild Eye, and I was sent this.
Yeah, they had those little. It's like a sticker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's right through her stomach, right there.
Like, that artwork's so great. It kind of almost has like a weird sort of Doctor Who-ish vibe to it.
Yeah, I can see that. And the audio commentary is really good. So you guys answered too many questions, because now, like I told you before we got on, it's like, damn, that's all my notes.
I love audio commentaries, dude. I love doing them. I wish I could do one for every movie I've been involved in. For better or worse, I love doing commentaries.
So it says here, evil is unwrapped, but she gets wrapped.
She does.
So I definitely recommend picking this up. I mean, you did a lot more on this than what's listed here. And then so with this one, the trailers on it are Lycomator, and then we also have Ouija Geist, who I'm friends with the director on that. And then Ouija Shark, and we all know who, we're all friends with the filmmakers of Ouija Shark.
Made by the guy who actually played Uncle Dave in Ouija Mummy.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, and then John Walker, who did actually, I think I'm saying that wrong. Why am I thinking I'm saying that wrong?
Yeah, no, John Walker.
Yeah, that's right, John R. Walker. I can't believe I even questioned his name. I've been good friends with him for a while, and for some reason that didn't sound right. But John Walker also did. Yeah, he's in Meat Hook 4 with me. He's in Skull Evil, and he also did one of the Amityville films, Amityville Theater or Playhouse, depending on what side of the pond you live on.
He's great. I keep telling him I need to get him in one of my movies.
He's good. He's good. He's going to be in a couple more things by me. And he's always up for doing it too. And then of course we do have Amityville Clown House is also on there. So, and that is a Dustin Ferguson film, as we know. And it looks very interesting from the trailer because has new footage in it. So I don't know. I own both of them.
There's a lot of Dustins in independent horror recently, I've noticed.
Especially through Wild Eye, yeah.
Yeah, especially.
And I noticed that in Ouija Mummy, now first, how did you come up with the name Ouija Mummy? Obviously, there's a Ouija board and there's a mummy, but how did those two connect?
I believe the original script, Seb and I had intended on doing one project that didn't quite pan out financially. And I remember we already had him booked to come down. Typically what we would do is we had a couple instances where Seb would basically fly down because he lives up in Toronto, the Toronto area, and he would fly down to Florida and basically spend anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month almost.
Oh wow.
Basically live down here and we'd just plan out, however many weeks it was, and try and shoehorn in as much film related stuff as we could, whether usually typically him directing a feature for me, and then a lot of us acting for or with other people, so a lot of film stuff shoehorned into these time frames, and we already had him booked to come down for that. And the project we had planned on wasn't looking like it was going to happen. So I thought to myself silently, and I didn't tell him right away, but we had talked in the past about how, because he's a big Universal horror monster lover. So, and one of my personal favorite Universal monsters is the Mummy. I love mummy movies. I'm a nut for mummy movies. I would love to make mummy movies all the time if I could. So, and he and I had talked about making a mummy movie, and we're like, man, if we ever did it, it should just be, the basic log line we had was, just like 6 people in a house with a mummy. So there was a period where I think he went on a camping trip for a weekend with Rain Tai, who is an actor in a lot of his films. He was one of the bums that gets killed by the Slimoids in Slimoids. He had went on a camping trip with Rain, so he was gone for like 3 or 4 days. In that span of time, I took that concept and pushed out what was at the time a 78-page script in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Draft for what was then called Mummy Massacre.
And okay.
So when he back home, I said, hey, we're clearly maybe not going to be able to do this, but maybe we can do this instead. And he read the script and was super down, and he gave some notes and suggestions, and we ran with it, and we shot that instead. So, and it was honestly one of the funnest and just easy breezy film productions I've ever been involved in.
And so how did it go from that length of a script to 1 hour?
That's a good question. I don't know. Sometimes things just shrink. I'm not quite sure, because the script was genuinely 78 pages. And then, if you shave off the opening credit sequence and the end credits, there's maybe like, 55, 56 minutes of content, but it's all there. It just moves at a surprisingly breakneck pace, I guess. So, which I've had some people mention that it feels like it's a lot of buildup. It's like a feature's length of, features worth of buildup to like a short film's worth of payoff. I remember hearing someone say. So, because once it kicks into gear in that last act, it's like a breakneck, rush to the finish. So. But if from a producing standpoint, I would prefer it to be longer. But what we did end up with, I do genuinely love. It's one of my favorite things, honestly, that I've worked on.
Yeah, it's a fun film. It moves quickly. Yeah, my only thing is I wish that it was a little bit longer, because I do like once all the mummy stuff hits, it would have been maybe nice to see more mummy, and what does she do and stuff like that, just more mummy, and because she looks great as the mummy, so it'd be nice to have that. And like I said, that picture on the back that's I think that's pretty awesome looking.
Yeah, her look was her costume and everything was designed by Toby Johansson, who had also designed and built the Leica animator suit. So and he ended up playing the Leica animator too in the bulk of that film as well. So
yeah, the Leica has a cameo, but he's not known as the Leica-mator. How did that happen? How did you get? Because like Roger Corman will do Carnosaur, will be in like 4 movies, and you always go, look, it's Carnosaur. So
yeah. I assume you're referring to the way that mask was repurposed. I believe that mask has been used in a handful of movies now. I think it was even used in, I could be wrong, I wasn't involved in it, but I feel like it might have been used in The Abominations of Frankenstein as well, as a different creature. But I mean, low budget stuff, you repurpose stuff and reuse it. So it's like that car crash in a Lloyd Kaufman movie. Hey, we got this great footage, let's just reuse it, put it right in a car crash. So I remember Seb actually painting the mask and getting it to the look that it is in that. And the whole, I will say, the Anubis stuff in the film was something that Seb came up with, because that wasn't actually in my script. So that addition was actually something that he came up with, and he suggested using the mask in that way. And I think it actually added.
Oh, I think it adds it fine. And there are certain things that it's so distinct looking that it I think will always be known as the Lycomator mask. That oh, look, there it is. Like you'll be watching a film and, hey, isn't that from that film? Kind of like Carnosaur and some other things. I mean, if you see a hockey mask in a movie, it's an ode to Jason, even if it's a movie about Valentine's Day. There's just these certain things that when they're in movies, they're just going to stand out. An axe may not, but a mask or a jacket or something like that could. And so I think that it's, so I would like to see that mask or the whole costume or whatever used multiple times. I think would be cool.
I think that costume is, I still have it. I have what's left of it. I think it's kind of, it's seen better days. I think it's kind of musty. I know that, I believe when Seb went back to Canada at one of these times, he actually took one of the claws off of it and actually used it in Canada to shoot some second unit stuff in Canada. And so it's missing a hand and its head is cut off. But I think the majority of the rest of the costume is still fairly intact. It's probably, no one wants to probably put it on. It was starting to get pretty funky even when we were shooting, because it was designed to be worn by someone else, and then for certain reasons that person couldn't stay on for the whole film, and Toby ended up taking on the role himself, and he did a great job. But it was a snug fit, and we were shooting in a very warm location, so it's a very yucky suit, but it looks great. It looks great on camera, so I'm glad that even if just the head has gotten some additional film life since that.
I still think it might be my favorite Seb film is Lycomator, and we discussed how we had like the same problems that I had with like Meat Hook 4, so there was that kind of relation to it. But I think the film is crazy, and so it just is so odd that I think so far it's I haven't seen all of his movies yet, but from what I've seen, I think it's my favorite. Mm-hmm. So, and you're part of that, so it'd be one of
it is
my favorite films of yours too.
Yeah.
So it's
I appreciate that. It's definitely from
oh no, go on.
I was just going to say, from a producing standpoint, it's one of those movies where, we set out to make this and we ended up with that. And it's like, it's not necessarily the film that I think any of us were expecting. And it's not wholly something that I think I'm 100% happy with. But that's okay, because honestly, people, it obviously has had some terrible reviews online, like any horror movie does. But dude, I talked to so many people that love it. So and it's always the ones you don't think people are gonna give a shit about that people end up being like obsessed about. Because I love Ouija Mummy. I think it's one of the most fun, entertaining, just like quirky things I've ever been involved in. But no one ever talks about it. Everyone always like, oh, like Hannah there, it's so crazy, it's so colorful. But
what about Ouija Mummy?
But I'll take it though. It's people love it, and that's really all I can ask for. As long as people enjoy it, it doesn't matter. So,
well, that's true, and I even own the Wild Eye version of it. That's the messed up one, the cut one. Mm-hmm. I think I own now like 4 different. I'm not gonna say versions, but like companies that have released it. So I got like the oldies one where it's the double feature. I got the 2 from Wild Eye, and then I got the the crowdfunding one. So that's 4. I own 4 versions of it.
I was talking to Seb about it recently, and I was like, "Man, a lot of your movies have had a lot of release traction, because so many of them have had numerous releases, which is fascinating to think about. Because some movies, I mean, that I've worked on, like, for instance, like Slaughter Daughter, that came out on DVD and came and went, and eventually just went the way of the dinosaur, and it's out of print now, and you just pretty much can't find physical copies of it for cheap anymore. But some movies, man, like, I don't know, yeah, like Slimeways, he put out on DVD, then Oldies put it on a double feature, then God bless Tony Mazziello for wanting to put it on a limited run from SOV Horror. I plan on doing my own version of it through DVD. And yes, I mean, like, Animator had the pre-release, the botched Wild Eye release. It had a VHS release through Horror Boobs, and then it had a re-release with the proper cut through Wild Eye on the Raw and Extreme sublabel. So, like, some of these things, they just have so many releases. But Ouija Board only got one.
Yeah, and it's normally these films that you don't expect. Miranda Dudley, who's my effects artist, is still amazed that Aximus has done what it has done. And she's like, God, it's a short film. Why does it do what it's doing? It's and it's like, I don't know, people just like it. And so even though I've been shredded, this one woman called it an abortion, but hey, whatever.
Hey, the joke was on her because she watched it. So
yeah, true. Well,
at the end of the day, that's a win for you.
That's true. And yeah, so I mean, you guys keep releasing them. I'll probably keep buying them. So just to show support, because that's I forgot to pull a couple of them that I do own, because now I organize all my DVDs by company and not necessarily by person. So there's the book I didn't show today. That one, the oldies one I didn't show, and then the cut one that's from Wild Eye. So I forgot to pull those. Yeah. But yeah, that's a lot. That's still 3 more things that and the Slimeoids one from oldies too. So which also has Dino Gore on it.
Yeah, and Slimeoids ended up having its own novelization come out recently too, which
really,
I even from the same author, Indy Daniels.
I need a link for that, because I'll purchase that. So I'll buy that. I like that type of stuff.
I'll find it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the same author who did the like Animator one did the Slimeoids one. I think he even kind of tied them together, actually, to a degree.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'd like to own that. So, well, let's get to you, to Dustin Hubbard. Dustin, explain to me. I've known nothing about movies. I only watch them I'm a casual viewer. What is a producer? What does a producer do?
Well, producer, which obviously I've done and continue to do a lot of things in film, but I always prefer the producing aspect. I like to work behind the scenes. So, I mean, producing, depending on the film, it can be any number of things. It can be any level of involvement, from basically, I mean, you have your producers who just invest and that's it. You have, I mean, for me, with something like Ouija Mummy, I mean, I was fully immersed in every aspect of overseeing it put together, from inception to production through post. But I'm usually actively involved in every aspect. I'm involved in casting. I'm involved in, the story and script and locations and fundraising and just honestly everything. It's a lot, and it can be exhausting. But on those movies, especially something like Ouija Mummy or Evil Curiosity, those kinds of things, where they're movies that I'm directly, like, I'm on set in it. Like, I try and be as actively involved in every aspect as possible as a producer.
How does that work with you being in Florida? And let's say I want you to produce a film for me here in Las Vegas. How does that work?
Honestly, that can work in a number of ways. Like with Slaughter Daughter, I was never actually on set. That was shot in New York City. So I never left Florida, but I oversaw things from a distance, stayed in direct contact with the filmmakers and the lead actress, Nicole Fiore, who I managed. And she was one of the main producers on it as well. I stayed in active contact with them, saw footage as it was available, made my suggestions. I actually did a lot of the fundraising for that movie. The fundraising for it was, we shot that back in, good God, I think it came out on DVD around Valentine's Day from Brain Damage in 2014. So we premiered it at Spooky Empire in October of 2012, which means we shot it maybe around 10-ish, early 11-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But active participation with the filmmakers and the producers there, and just making sure things stay on time and on budget and get structured. And I found the distribution deal and a lot of that stuff. So, or you have things like, say, you mentioned Haunting of Miyamoto earlier. That was made in Missouri by Jake Zelch. I flew to Missouri and was there on set and oversaw things on hand. Same as with Evil Curiosity, that was shot in California. So I flew out to California for that and oversaw firsthand. So can go both ways for me.
Pardon me. So if you're in Florida and then like some like Evil Curiosity, which is, you said is in LA, do you kind of pick and choose? Like it's like for Slaughter Daughter, you stayed in Florida, but you didn't go to New York, but you did go to California for Evil Curiosity. How do you pick and choose what locations you do go to?
So with Slaughter Daughter, the conscious decision was made by me to actually stay in Florida. I knew that the filmmakers were very talented and very capable, and I have full faith in what Nicola was doing, so I wasn't concerned about needing to necessarily be there to lord over everything, because I knew that it was in good hands. So instead of putting money into flying there, I told them that it would just be, I think, smarter to use my initial investments for that film, and then whatever I would spend basically to fly out there, we're just putting it all into the budget instead.
Okay.
So, granted, a plane ticket there is basically putting money into the budget, because then you get the benefit of having me there. But I trusted everyone enough on that I didn't think it was necessary for me to necessarily be there, as much as I would have loved to have been there for that, because I love that movie. But I didn't think it was necessary. Now with Evil Curiosity, not to say that I didn't trust the people involved, but and it's a weird juxtaposition because Slaughter Daughter was a feature and Evil Curiosity is a short. But
right.
Evil Curiosity was made by someone that I've known online for ages, Wayne Sorrell, and he wrote the script for that, and we had talked about collaborating for a long time, and he came up with that, and we just decided, hey, you want to make this, you'll direct, I'll fly out and I'll help you, it'll be a fun thing for us to do, and we'll get to hang out, we'll get to make a cool movie. I know Brink Stevens, I can maybe get her involved, and he brought some of his friends, film friends on, and it was a fun time. But so in retrospect, it might sound weird that I chose to not go out there for a feature, but then I flew to California for a short. But there was a thought process to it. So as much as I would love to be on for everything, but sometimes it's just not necessary or feasible.
Is one easier than the other?
With the way I produce, not really. So just because I want to be involved as much as I can and stuff, and not to an overbearing degree where people are like, leave us alone, but I want to know what's happening and make sure that things are being taken care of correctly. So because sometimes not everyone, and not necessarily people from these movies, but you'll always have that certain filmmaker or crew or something that's just not really staying on point or isn't handling the money correctly. So
Yeah, because what I showed with like the Paranoia tapes and the sub films and all that, this is a tiny, I mean, a tiny portion of what you've done. I looked on IMDb, and it's more like, like that, to what I own. So you have, you've produced, you've written, you've done casting, you've done production, like, production management, you've done locations, you've done so I mean, you've done many, many, many jobs. And on Ouija Mummy, which was shot in Florida, there you were hands-on. So you were able to be, from what I could see, maybe there's more, you wrote it, you produced it, you were an actor in it, you worked with casting, and you did production management. So obviously you could do a lot more on location than you can, let's say, then if you stayed there, and did not go to New York. So how was all of that stuff on Ouija Mummy? How did that all work out?
It was actually pretty easy, honestly. I mean, we found a location, because part of, sometimes it's hard to find a good house to shoot in. We just looked around on Airbnb, and Seb found some locations, and I looked into them, and we found a house that was appropriate. And I live in Sarasota, Florida, and just north of where I live, there's a part of town that's like Mennonite community. So a lot of, people in handmade dresses and riding around on bicycles, and,
Oh, okay.
food restaurants and stuff, and very quiet, peaceful community, And so we rent a house where all the Mennonite community here in town is to shoot a mummy movie. And it was a great house, nice, big. It was big enough to be able to house the entire crew. And my house was literally not even a 7-minute drive from.
Oh, that's good.
So it was easy, coming back and forth. Whereas say on like Animator, our location was an hour drive from my house, and that location, as I'm sure you can imagine, having seen the movie, was not habitable. So we couldn't live in that house while we were shooting. We had to commute back and forth on a daily basis. So with Ouija Mummy, it was like, whew, we get to like go stay in this nice house. There's plenty of space. Everyone had space. It was a nice house, nice quiet neighborhood. Just black out the windows and kill some people. It was good, but it was very, very relaxed. Most of the cast was fairly local. There were some people that were from, a bit north of us, around the Tampa area. Maybe one or two smaller bit parts that were a bit farther north of that, but everyone was fairly arm's length from where we were at. So, and all of our locations were very directly accessible and just easy peasy. So it was cake, honestly.
So ticking on all of those jobs, I mean, you just had like a desk, and like, this is the paperwork for this is the file for this is the clipboard for this is, and you just kind of managed all of them along with acting at a Walgreens.
Yeah, I'd get up and just kind of like unfold everything out of my my folder on the kitchen table and just start prepping each day. And I remember even when Eight the Chosen One was over shooting his Anubis stuff in the blacked out garage, I was sitting in the kitchen planning out the rest of the shots in the next room over while they were doing all that. So it was very, very easy. And the crew on that too, working with Seb as the director and Clint Kelly as the cameraman and editor. I mean, he was editing as soon as we'd wrap at the end of the night. He was in one of the back bedrooms and had all his little, area set up back there. He'd go back there and start cutting. We had Toby, who designed the suits, on set as sound and PA, and a lot of the cast stayed right in the house with us, like Kai Hornick, who played the male lead, and Brianna Wyman, who played the female lead / Mummy. Everyone was just right at arm's length and super collaborative, super helpful. And it was just so easy that I was actually so unstressful. It's not even normal feeling to even say in retrospect. It was, everyone was really just golden on that film. The only speed bump we ever had was the role of the AA sponsor. I had cast one person and then they had to drop out because they ended up being sick. But Charla, the second female lead, the blonde who played Becca, she was like, I know a guy and he kind of just is that person. She's like, I can call him and see if he'd maybe be willing to come down and act in the movie. And I was like, please, I would love to talk to him. She called him. He was like, hell yeah, I'll call off work. So he called off work and came in, and we shot his entire role in one day. So I mean, that was the only real problem the entire time. And it was just kind of like, oh hey, I know a guy. And it was just like it just clicked and was so easy. So in a lot of the casting, I handled a lot of the direct casting on that movie. I specifically wrote that as a vehicle for Kai and Bree because I enjoyed working with them so much on like Animator. I thought they were just both so natural feeling and they both look so good on camera, but I wanted something that they could specifically carry. And I had known Charla Darkus Moore, who played Becca the blonde. I'd known her from she was actually a friend of Michael Kenneth Farr's that I worked on the Inheritance trilogy and whatnot with. So I just contacted her, and the guy who played her boyfriend was a local actor I knew. It was just so easy, and Seb wanted to play the brother character of Paul. So I was like, done. And some of the other casting suggestions, I believe, were his, like getting Bob Glazer as the mailman.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and it was his suggestion to have a play Anubis as well. And I did specifically write the role of Officer Berto for Alberto Giovanelli, obviously, because he played Officer Berto in like Animator. So it does kind of take place in the same universe.
So yeah, I was about to say, yeah, part of the same world there. So
it is the same cop, and technically he always dies. So
poor guy. But he always dies in the same world, so that doesn't make sense. It's just his one
day maybe we'll explain that. There's a thought process behind that hasn't been discussed. So
well, hey, Kenny dies in how many episodes of South Park? And they're all in the same universe, so so it is possible.
It's true. And if you're familiar with anything that like Chris Seaver has ever done, I've known Chris Seaver for a good number of years and have been a producer on a handful of his stuff. He has kind of the same thing. If you picture like a Kevin Smith kind of universe of like weird, quirky characters, just sometimes they die horrible deaths, and then in the next one they're back alive again for no explicable reason. So
just happens, just is.
Fuck it. Yeah, fuck it.
It doesn't matter. One of the things that I do like about this is the opening credits. I really like how it's kind of has that Egyptian, like the hieroglyphics, and then it goes into the people's names. I'm very big on opening credits. If your opening credits do not catch me, most likely your movie is not going to either. So it's to me, the only person who can get away with, like the black background with the white credits is Woody Allen. That's it. Because he's been doing that for like 50 years. But otherwise, give me some interesting credits or you've lost me. So I think you guys did a good job on that. I really enjoyed that. Did the hieroglyphics match to anything, or are they just symbols that you just, that you liked?
I'll be honest, I do not know the details behind that, but it was designed by someone that Seb knew. I believe it was someone he went to film school with, and they did it for us. And it was far more incredible looking than I actually expected. So
yeah, it looked good.
It adds
a
nice
a nice touch to the beginning of the movie because I'm not used to having such swanky feeling opening credits. So
Well, and you'd mentioned that you like mummy movies, and the Universal stuff always like the credits were over like a pyramid, and there would always be the symbols and the kind of like, I don't know, etched in stone type drawings and stuff.
Yeah.
All the credits go over them, so it kind of matches that. So it kind of goes along with what you were saying about mummies, you know. Yeah. So
and whatnot. Yeah.
and the house that you were shooting at now, was the inside and the outside the same house?
It was not. Yeah, I know. If you pay close attention, and I've never had anyone mention it, but I'll go ahead and mention it. In the movie, when they're arriving, whenever they're outside and going in, the door is on the front of the house. When they're inside the house, the entrance to the house is not parallel to the front of the house, if that makes sense. And I said that this doesn't really match, and no one seemed to really think it was an issue. So honestly, no one's mentioned it, but it's the one glaring thing that I'm always like, but no one mentions it, so whatever. The exterior shots in the driveway, that is actually my house that I live in now.
Okay. And then the insides were the house that you rented.
Yep. The interiors are all that. Yep.
And in the with the audio commentary that I heard that the people that you rented it from thought you were renting or making a certain type of movie, possibly, instead of what you were doing.
Yeah, we wrapped. Yeah, we wrapped when we finished up. We were packing up and getting ready to leave, and I remember someone found a debit card in the house. It was from the previous renter, like on top of the refrigerator. So, I contacted the people and said, hey, we found, this, we'll leave it here, because I'm sure whoever was just in here before us would like to have it back. And they're like, oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, definitely. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead, and I sent the feedback and left a glowing review because the house was awesome. It was my first time doing an Airbnb personally. It was just like so carefree feeling, keyless access. We never saw anyone in person that was in charge of anything. Come and go as we please, and I left glowing feedback, and then they messaged me back after that and said, oh, thank you so much for the amazing review, but just so you know, we know what you did here. We appreciate it and feel like you were not forthright with your intentions of renting the house. Now, of course, if you tell people, hey, I'm going to shoot a movie here, they're 90% of the time a red flag's going to go up, and they're going to either tell you no, or they're going to want some kind of extra backup as insurance to protect.
I was going to ask you that. Did they know what you were doing? Yeah.
They did not. And we took very overt precautions to protect the house and the property. So, there was a giant rug on the living room floor too that we actually rolled up and removed while we were shooting. And made very conscious decisions, and effort to not get any blood or anything on anything. Like we treated the house like a newborn infant. Like it was treated with utmost care, and it was left in pristine condition when we left. But I don't know what they thought we did. Maybe they thought we were making a porno there or something. I'm not sure, because we only shot the creature stuff, I believe, on the last day or two, and maybe the house was very back off the road, and there were fences that really kind of closed in the property, so you couldn't really see anything too well from the road, so you couldn't really tell the windows were blacked out or anything. But maybe on that last day when everyone's dying, there's a lot of screaming and hooting and hollering, and obviously we have Joel Wynkoop there on, cranked up to 200%,
Oh yes.
that's loud. So maybe people heard a lot of the commotion, especially the screaming, and maybe they didn't think it was blood-curdling screams of terror, but maybe sensuous screams
of passion.
pleasure. I'm not sure. They thought we were unwrapping passion, not terror. So that's my guess. But I never messaged them back after that. I just left it at that. You know, they, like I said, the house wasn't damaged. Everything was in perfect condition when we left, and you know, we got what we needed. They got paid, and their property was, you know, taken well care of. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was no harm, no foul.
Right. And I don't think that you necessarily have to say what you're doing. I mean, it's, if you rent a cabin in the woods, do I need to tell the people I'm going to be shooting a film? Or do I just rent the cabin in the woods and go make a film?
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, on the honor system, yeah, maybe we should tell, but when you tell, and people will contest, I mean, I'm very always concerned about things like property and things like that. So I don't want things to get damaged. So we don't fuck stuff up like that. So that's never a problem that I see happening, truthfully. So, and it hasn't. So I don't feel the need to point it out a lot of times when everything is still just as good as when we left it. You know, now if it were the like animator house, we wanted to wreck that place, but you know, that's a whole other story for another interview. But we couldn't, but that it wouldn't have mattered because that house was a total shithole. So, but we weren't allowed to.
I get a little torn between the, you know, don't ask and then get the slap on the wrist, or ask and then be denied. I almost feel that it's better to get the slap on the wrist.
Yeah. Or ask and then be told, sure, you can do it, but we need to see proof of insurance and we need all this extra amount of money for you to be allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you don't have to be in Los Angeles for someone to smack you with a, oh yeah, you want to shoot here, pay us this kind of bullshit. So, because it's an easy way for people to make something off of nothing. And as far as I'm concerned with the Airbnb, they already got paid well because that house was not cheap. So
yeah, that's so. Yeah, I don't know, because if you would have asked them, then you wouldn't have had a movie. You'd have to find another place, or maybe Ouija Mummy wouldn't have been made.
And we were on a time crunch. Honestly, like we had a matter of like, I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 days to secure a location. Everything was already set. We had actors booked. Everything was situated. I mean, we even had like effects props made and flown in by James Bell. Built some props for us for it. So I mean, everything was set. There was no not making something. Like we had to make something somewhere.
Right. Well, and how did all those people get involved? Because you do have named people. You have like the Wine Coops. You got James Bell. You got a fair amount of people that are actually known to the kind of indie world. How did they become involved?
With James Bell, I feel like Seb and I had just seen some of his stuff, and if you are familiar with James Bell, he just does incredible effects work. So it was, we had some fairly, few specific, things that we really needed. And the one main really, crowning effects achievement I think that he provided us is he made the fake chest that
that was a good effect. Through. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I need something like that. Yeah, I'm going to contact James Bell because he did amazing work, and he did it for, at a really affordable price. And he was very, very accessible and collaborative with what we needed. So, and like even something as silly as like the Brett Kelly cameo, like Brett had already played the DJ in Slimoids. So, and Seb and I have both known him online for ages anyway. And at one point we were like, man, we should try and get like a mailing cameo, because Seb doesn't really do it much anymore lately, but I love a good mailing cameo. I know you do too. Like mailing cameos, oh, yeah. They're fun. They're easy.
Do them a lot.
Add like extra flavor. Yeah, they're an easy way to add extra flavor to something and get someone that might not necessarily be hireable. So we talked to a few people. One most notably, I will say, was I remember Seb reached out to Ted Newsom, if you know who that is.
Yes.
He reached out to Ted Newsom and asked him if he would be interested in doing a mailing cameo as Uncle Dave, and he read the sides and he said, just seems kind of pointless.
Okay, thank you for your honesty.
You know what? God bless Ted Newsom. He's no longer with us, but I couldn't help but laugh at just the blunt honesty of it, because yeah, it's totally pointless. It's just the idea of shoehorning you into the movie, Ted. But
exactly.
Passed,
yeah.
Which was he passed, which was fine, and Brett was just like, sure, whatever, so he shot it quick and sent the footage over like a champ. He just, Brett's game for anything, and it's funny because since both that and Ouija Mummy and Ouija Shark both came out for a while by, I've seen people share things online saying like, when are we gonna get Ouija Mummy versus Ouija Shark? And I'm like,
yeah,
I'd totally make it. I don't care. Like, I'll totally produce it if someone actually wants it. But so I mean, we got him that way, and I'm trying to think of. You said the Wine Coops. I've known Wine Coops for like 15 years. They were both involved in my first film, for Christ's sake, and just they're accessible and they're good people, and they deliver. So it's just like when I wrote those roles and that too. I'll say this: when I wrote the role of Cassandra, the Egyptologist at the beginning of the movie that finds the necklace, I wrote that for Kathy, specifically for Kathy Winecoop, aka Catherine Winecoop, I believe is what she typically gets credited as.
Yes, yeah.
But the role, and I will say, I think that Kathy is an amazing actress, and I think a lot of the times people don't give her credit where credit is due, because she's married to Joel Winecoop, who is,
well, yeah. Well, her performance is like this. His is like that. So it's just, I don't think I've ever seen him in a calm performance. I mean, it's like he drank like 20 gallons of coffee.
I was going to say there is no such thing, but you know what? There is such a thing as a calm Winecoop performance, because when it does come out, mark my words in advance, he plays a very integral role in Jekyll versus Hyde, and it is a very calm, level-headed caregiver, and he is incredible.
Okay.
And honestly, I think it's one of his most amazing performances ever in like 200 movies. But typically, I mean, he goes Winecoop, and that's just like off the radar. So, but I didn't write that role specifically for him. I think at the time my thought process was, and I've had this thought process on numerous things, I'm going to write this for Kathy, and we're not going to involve Joel. No offense to Joel, because I love Joel, but Kathy deserves her moments to shine too, without having to be in a movie with her husband, because more people should hire her. She's just that good, and she's reliable, and she delivers, and she shows up prepared and on point. But Seth suggested the idea of hiring Joel to play the Chinese food delivery man, which at first I believe was kind of a weird decision. And then I thought about it. I need to reposition myself here, sorry. Okay. I had to plug in.
There we go. Oh yeah, I don't want that thing running out.
He had suggested having Joel play the Chinese food delivery man, which I thought, that is really weird. A really weird decision. But he showed up and just went full Winecoop, and it was such an odd thing to experience, but it adds such an amusingly weird cap to the movie, because it's a movie that feels like it's almost like to me, Ouija Mummy almost feels like a live action Scooby-Doo skit. It's very bizarrely colorful and campy and just sort of off kilter at points. And then Wine Coop shows up and it turns into a full-on cartoon.
Right.
So, and I think that last act is very evident of that. One thing that I remember people saying to me was, I've been friends with Joey Garcia, who played the second male lead in it that gets his chest punched through. And he's from the Dominican Republic, so he has a very thick accent normally. And a lot of the people on set were like, what was your thought process in hiring this guy? Like he's just such an odd presence. And I'm like, just trust me, just go with it. Just trust me. And you know, the night that we shot the stuff with Seb and him by the door, when Joel's pecking on the door, and you get that like weird sort of like Evil Dead style, like zoom in on their faces, and Joey's like, my takeout.
Yeah.
Like cut that together, and everyone was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And I was like, see? I was like, I know what I'm doing. I will say I like to pride myself in some of my casting choices. So it worked out really well. Yeah, we got some really good people on that movie.
Yeah, I actually agreed with him at one point, you know, when he's locked in the room with his girlfriend and the girlfriend's like, we got to go out there and help him. And he's like, no, we don't. I'm like, no, you don't. You just stay in the room and you'll be perfectly fine. You know, he leaves and then he dies. You know, if he stayed in the room, he probably would have been fine. So, you know, he might have kind of come in as this kind of jerky guy, you know, that doesn't want to be there. But no, I mean, but he ends up being correct. And probably some people would think, oh my God, that's so selfish. What a jerk that he just wants to stay in there and not help him. Well, a girl's a mummy. A guy's like this kind of like slave demon type of thing. And they're pounding on the door. Why would you leave? Why would you go outside? He's 100% correct.
He's honestly one of the most level-headed characters in the movie. So yeah, I will say we had some. I just talking about the cast. I even have to throw some points out. So we had Kate Phoenix play. She did some of the voiceover work as Ahotep the First. So some of the whispering voices you hear, that's actually Kate.
Oh, okay.
Chaos AD and Naked Cannibal Campers. She did that, and we had Jonathan Smith, who actually played Kate's boyfriend in Like Animator. They were the male and female lead in that. He actually does a very brief voice cameo at the very end when Seb is possessed by Ahotep's son Amase. So we had some cool voice cameos as well.
Yeah, well casted, like you said. So one scene that I do want to talk about is the kitchen dance scene. So I found that to be interesting for a couple reasons. One, the music that's playing is an instrumental, but she's singing. And the other one is on the audio commentary, you say that you thought of Sleepwalkers. I thought of Risky Business. So it's interesting that you went to kind of like a Stephen King horror film while I went to a Tom Cruise, like Warner Brothers comedy.
Yeah, it's a weird, like anyone who knows me will tell you I'm a sucker for a weird musical montage. I love that shit. I love characters dancing and shit, you know, and that's, when I wrote that scene, that's what I pictured. Was I closed my eyes and I pictured Machinomic in Sleepwalkers when she's like dancing around, sweeping up popcorn at the movie theater in Sleepwalkers. Do you love me? And because Bree, the actress that played the mummy in the movie, she did not necessarily understand how to do a dance sequence like that. And I was like, I pulled up YouTube. I'm like, watch this. This is what I have in mind. It's this right here. Kind of gave her more of an idea. I don't believe she was actually genuinely listening to anything at the time. I think she was just dancing. You know, it's not like one of those classic, like, you know, Friday 4 moments where they're dancing to one thing and it ends up being something completely different. I think she was just dancing and music was added in later. So, but I love it. I think that I love dance numbers, weird like musical montages.
Well, it's a fun scene. I just thought it was interesting that she was like singing to something, but it's an instrumental. So it's like, how would they, unless they plan on using the song that she's singing to, what would they put in there?
See, and I don't even remember if she was even specifically like lip syncing to something specific. I really don't. So,
or she could be singing, but hearing the instrumental music in her head. So we don't hear what she's saying because maybe she's just yelling certain things out.
Maybe she still had "Do You Love Me" in her head. I don't even know if that's the name of the song, but that's what I call it from Sleepwalkers. So,
it's possible.
It's, you know what, they're always fun numbers to me in a movie, and plus they're great runtime pattern. So that's always a good reason to have musical montages too. And some great movies that I love that have musical montages, like Monster Squad has some great musical montages, like when they're prepping to go fight the monsters and shit. And like Popcorn, which is one of my favorite slasher movies, has a really great musical number when they're cleaning the theater in the opening. I just love a good musical sequence.
I would agree with that. And I'm going to bring up Dustin Ferguson for a second with Meat Hook Massacre 4. So when we shot the scene of them getting high and drinking alcohol, and it's supposed to be just like a big party, them eating pizza, and it's the two couples, and then at one point you see one of the actors grab he grabs something, a broom or a golf club or something, I forget what it was, and he starts playing it like a guitar. Well, what I was playing on the radio was AC/DC's Highway to Hell, but nobody was singing. They were just going to the beat of the song. Of course, Angus Young is there playing the guitar, so Mikey's playing the guitar to it. So the song that was supposed to be in there was from a band called Disenchanter, Green Queen. And Green Queen is marijuana. And of course, they're smoking pot and stuff. So I thought, oh, that would fit perfectly. So when Dustin edited the film, he put in one of his own songs, the Dirty D songs, that it's fine. It's okay. I mean, he edited it to match the song, but it doesn't match to the guy playing the guitar and stuff. Yeah. It doesn't really make sense.
I can imagine having heard some Dirty D myself. I can imagine that it probably really didn't sync up to their actions very well.
No. And I mean, it's fine. I mean, to the average person watching it who wouldn't know, they probably wouldn't make it, it wouldn't make a difference. But because I know, it's like, but he's playing the guitar and your song doesn't have any guitar in it. So why is he playing the guitar? So it doesn't, in some cases it works and in some cases it doesn't, but I guess it was fine, for my thing, whatever,
It's one of those things too, where it's like, I feel like when we shot that sequence, we had no clue what we were going to use in that scene anyway, as far as audio. I think that the composer, Dakota Drobnicki, who scored the movie, he came up with something to play during it. So
I like that soundtrack. That soundtrack is good. The score for the film, I like it.
It's got a really good score, and I have to throw extra props out to Mike Troublecock, who did the end title theme of "We Walk the Ancient Earth" for the final song.
Yes,
that plays during the end credits and the picture credits, which I'm a sucker for picture credits as well. I love things to always have picture credits. Nice.
I learned that from Jim Wynorski. That's where I think I've learned it from. First saw it from him.
Totally. A lot of classic Wynorski and classic Fredel and Ray type stuff. Yeah, good picture credits. Give a final tip of the hat to each performer. I think they're classy. Honestly, I think they're classy. They're also obviously a neat way of getting an extra minute or two of time. But if you have a good cast, they're worth repeating. So
yeah.
So I think Ouija Mummy has some really great end picture credits, and then the theme song. Actually, I think that Mike Troublecock has done so many amazing themes for movies. It's insane. And the fact that he's done a few of them for some of the things I've worked on is just like, honestly, an honor, because his stuff is always so much better than you think it's gonna be. Like his theme to that is probably one of my favorite things ever, truthfully. And honestly,
wow.
his theme to like Animator is pretty friggin' incredible too.
Yeah, I remember liking the soundtrack to that too. So yeah. And speaking of, like great actors are worth repeating type of thing, you play the store clerk that's at the Walgreens, at the unknown store, until we see the outside of it and it just says Walgreens right on the door.
Yeah.
Do you like acting? Because you do a fair amount of it.
I have done a fair amount of it. Oddly, a lot of voice work too, which is weird because I don't think I really have a good voice for that kind of thing. But I don't like acting. Honestly, I really don't. I usually do it for one of two reasons: A, out of necessity, or B, because someone that I like and or respect asks me to do it. Otherwise, I don't want to do it. So I just don't like it. It's a whole other different headache that I think is actually in some ways worse than being the kind of producer I've already said I am, where I want to have my hand in every friggin' cookie jar on set, I think acting is fucking way worse. It's like the most stressful shit. I can't remember dialogue for shit. Like,
yeah,
I was that kid when you were in like elementary school and they'd be like, you got to memorize this poem or some shit, or memorize this song and sing it, or perform, like read shit in front of the class. You know what I'm talking about? You'd have to like memorize crap. Dude, I could never memorize crap. I've never had a mind for like memorization. I can remember the most pointless crap humanly possible, if I find interest in it. But like I can't just absorb a script's worth of dialogue. So I don't like acting. But if I have to, I'll do it. Or if, like I said, if someone that I'm good with wants me to do it, I'll do it for them. But typically, I don't like doing it.
Yeah, I enjoy acting, but I do small stuff, and it's. I remember for Night of the Zomghouls I had a small role in that, but the writer of it didn't know that. I couldn't memorize that much dialogue. So it's like, and he didn't know that. So we had to cut it all down, and being dyslexic that's why I do smaller roles, is because it's easier to remember. And so we ad-libbed a bunch of that with like Mike Ferguson. And so we just kind of riffed it back and forth, but we got the main points out from the script. And then we parked the car, and then I just read from the script, and they just had the mic on me. So they got the full script if they wanted to kind of interchange the two. But he didn't know, and then when I worked on another friend's film, I said, I'm going to learn all this dialogue. And I learned all of it, but I could see it in my head in the script as I was going down. And she's like, oh yeah, we cut out half the dialogue. I'm like, what? Now it's too short. I know this entire thing, and I know it's the way that the script has it, because I could see the other person's dialogue. And now that you've removed all of it, now that's messed me up. And they're like, but John, I thought you liked shorter stuff. And it's like, but I memorized the long stuff. So now it makes it more difficult to do the short stuff.
Yep. It's weird looking back at acting stuff. I mean, I and go back to Handmade Horror Volume 1. I mean, those Inheritance shorts, those are probably, truthfully, some of my favorite acting. Not that I think I'm good in them per se, but I think I'm fairly solid in parts 2 and 3. But I liked doing those because they were just improv. So I didn't have.
Yeah, it says that in the credits. Yeah.
By the magic of improv. Yeah. So, I mean, we had an outline of, these are our characters, these are the scenes and what's going to happen, and we just would roll camera and organically just act it out and see what happened. And that was, I love improv, honestly. If you want me to like do something that's improv, I'd probably, even if I wasn't good friends with you or tight with you or trusted you, I'd probably say fuck it, and I'd say yes, because I love improv. I think it's really fun. I think it's fun to do. So I do, you know, for better or worse, those do actually hold a special place in my heart as far as film is concerned, because those were genuinely fun to do. When we did For Christ's Sake, I wrote the script with myself in mind as the human scientist villain, and that was the plan. And we're going, and then I'm like, I didn't really think about it too much, and then we're getting into like close to production, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to actually do this now. I didn't really think about it, you know. And then I'm like, fuck, and I wrote all these monologues, and there's like just all this stuff, and it was like the worst experience because I was like, oh god, it's too late to actually find someone to do this now instead of me.
Right.
So I had to try and do it, and I was the fucking like villain scientist opposite Debbie Rochon on top of it.
Oh.
So I'm like, that's not stressful. So, you know, that was especially, you know, not, I mean, great working with Debbie, don't get me wrong, but like
yeah, I love Debbie. Yeah.
Scientist character was a nightmare, because I'm over here like pulling my hair out, and Debbie's over here just like, you know, doing it like it ain't no fucking thing, because she's
right.
Debbie Rochon. So,
right.
You know,
yeah, she's been doing this like 16 years old or something.
Like, way to make me look bad, Debbie. No, I'm kidding. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's just her. It's like, I mean, you've been on set with Brink. It's like, they do it. It's like, I don't know. They're that good. I mean, and I think independent actresses, especially in the horror field, don't really get enough credit a lot of times. You know, you get the stigma with the phrase scream queen, but it's like, and these women are on their shit. They don't fuck around. Like, they know what they're doing, and they're fucking good at it. So it's like,
right.
When you put someone like me at the time who had zero acting experience other than some improv shorts and like a school play in 5th grade, like that's trouble. No, you know, I didn't enjoy that experience, so I tended to avoid that kind of role from there on out. I did back in last March, I believe. I had acted in a movie for We Massacre Productions. They had a thing and wrote a script with me in mind as the lead villain. And I was like, I don't know, guys. But they
can you be mute? Can you be a mute villain?
That was so not a possibility too, because it would be called Please Do Not Disturb, and it was a 42-page script, and it was literally 2 guys in a hotel room. It was like a psychological thriller, and it is talk. And I mean, we shot 42 pages in 2 days. But
wow.
It's just 2 guys. It's 2 guys in one room for the most part. So other than some second unit stuff on a 3rd day later, it was just all boom, 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 boom. And that was like, but I was working with people who had a crew and cast and whatnot that had done a lot of stuff already, because I had already worked with a lot of them on King James and Lefty Lucy as an actor or voiceover person in the past, so I already had a level of comfortable vibe with them, so it wasn't as stressful, and they worked with me because they know that I didn't like acting, but and they love it. I don't know if I would say I think I did a good job in it, but they love it and think that I did a good job. So that makes me, that's enough for me.
That's what matters. So
yeah, but I'm not going to be someone that's like, put me in your movie. I'm exactly what your movie needs, because I don't like it. So I mean, you saw in Ouija Mummy, I'm literally like the store clerk who, trust me, we cut my dialogue. So there wasn't actually dialogue during that exchange. We just scrapped it and shot it and just moved on. So I was just like a body handing change in a bag, I think. So like,
here is your change and your bag.
Have a great day.
Well, now I want to talk about something that does not require you acting, and that is the Ouija board and then like the seance scene. So how did the Ouija board get designed and set up and all that type of stuff? And what did you guys have to go through to shoot that scene?
So with the Ouija board, I think one of the earlier aspects, and I think we touched on this earlier, and I maybe didn't give a full enough answer. The title, it was originally Ouija or Mummy Massacre. I think when Seb and I before production had a Skype conversation with Rob Housechild at Wild Eye about acquiring Like Animator and now Ouija Mummy before it was even shot. And he agreed to sign both of them. And we agreed that, yeah, Mummy Massacre is pretty bland. And I think during our three's conversation, we came up with the title Ouija Mummy. But one of the things that he said, which made sense and had been in our minds, was that don't use the Parker Brothers Ouija board as is, because that whole image and setup is a copyright issue. So
right,
we went and picked up some art supplies, and the whole board itself was actually designed by Seb. He painted it and designed all the imagery and symbols and whatnot on it himself. So,
and was the like the seance and stuff, was that based on anything, like anything real?
The idea of the board in the movie, she says that the board was previously owned by her aunt because she was a channeler and whatnot. My mother had I want to say a great aunt who actually was a channeler, and she held seances and did shit with Ouija boards and right out of her house, kind of like you picture that, like you ever see Haunting in Connecticut?
Yes.
Where they'd been holding seances and shit like down in the basement. She basically did crap like that in her house.
Oh, okay.
Channel spirits and like summon shit and have ghosts, people talk through her and crap. And people paid her handsomely for it, and so that concept actually came from that.
So because I always find it funny with the Ouija board, and people are like, oh no, don't mess with that. Don't mess with that stuff. The Ouija board was created for rich people as a parlor game. So it's like, it's not based off of really anything except that it was this game for adults, for rich people to play, and you could buy it at Toys R Us. But yet everybody with it is like, oh my God, no, don't touch that thing. Don't do anything. It's like, it's literally a toy. It's like if you're playing Battleship and somebody goes, no, don't sink that battleship because it's going to sink a real battleship. Hey, hey, that's another Hasbro. And to me, it doesn't make sense because it is a toy.
Yeah, it's weird logic. I will admit I don't want to necessarily play with Ouija boards. I've only ever played with a Ouija board twice in my entire life. As a child, I remember we lived in an apartment complex in Indiana, and my sister and I were over at her then boyfriend's house, or his apartment, I should say, on the opposite side of the complex. So me, her, him, and a couple of the other neighborhood kids are all sitting around in his living room playing the Ouija board. And all these apartments had these huge sliding glass patio doors. So they had the curtains drawn so you couldn't see outside. And of course, someone has to say, give us a sign that this is real. And right after that, something really hard hit the patio window, like the sliding glass door. And immediately it's like, oh, all hands off the board. And we're like, oh shit, that was weird.
But it could have been a bird.
It could have, which is bad because then if you're super
and you took the hands off the Ouija board. Did you say goodbye?
Yeah, we left the doorway open, so it's been open for like 35
years. So you're the cause of all the problems in the world. You didn't say goodbye.
It explains a lot in retrospect, but that we were terrified. So he walked us home that night. But from that point until literally, I want to say 2 or 3 days before we shot Seb and I tried the Ouija board ourselves and nothing happened. I think we had just watched, I don't know, some terrible foreign movie like, you know, the Killer Barbies versus Dracula or something. And then we're like, okay, let's try the Ouija board. Like, we have to try this. So we tried it and nothing happened because we were like, let's try it before you paint it. You know, so, and so, you know, but yeah, I wouldn't want to do it normally, even though it is a game. Just, I don't know.
Once again, I would be that guy for $1 million. Would you play on a Ouija board and not say goodbye? And I'd be like, yep, I'll do it. And if something did happen, not just the sound, but if something did happen, then I would believe in it. But otherwise, I'd go right to bed right after that.
If you did, then you got the money to pay to get someone to come in and fix it. So
there you go. Good point. So,
you know.
now what about the because I want to we haven't even gotten to the next movie yet. The Mummy, the Mummy and the necklace. How was all of that put together? Like the look.
So the whole mummy design was actually, the costume itself was designed and made by Toby Johansson, who did PA work and sound for us. And I'm not sure who did the makeup. I want to say Brie probably did a lot of the makeup herself. I know with a lot of her, you know, her dialogue was scripted, but some of the foreign things that she says, that is actual Egyptian that she looked up and read, because she wanted to actually say a few Egyptian things to try and have some level of authenticity. So she did that. You know, we got the contacts because we love any reason to use contact lenses. So that
yeah, they look good. I mean, that goes back to this picture. That's why this picture is on the back. So
yeah, totally.
You know,
and some of the it's weird because she gets possessed by Ahotep the First, and then she sort of makes her host's husband her acolyte, and kind of turns the Chase character into her henchman to a degree. That concept was kind of something that I guess subconsciously borrowed from my first movie that I had the unfavorable acting experience in, for Christ's sake, because in that we cloned Jesus and he starts killing people.
Nice.
But yeah, one of his victims he kills, and they come back from the dead as like an undead sort of henchman that kind of follow him around and sort of scurry around on all fours, and is really gross and just uncouth. So that was kind of where that sort of came from. Like I said, it sort of just happened subconsciously. I just sort of like you end up using the same themes a lot of times without really thinking about it. So,
but it makes sense in this that you would have like some sort of assistant or yeah.
A lot of the problems, like the fake teeth and things like that, were things provided by one of the other producers, Carlos Andrade. So I mean, that's kind of how a lot of their looks and designs came about. The necklace itself is actually a piece of jewelry that was made by my uncle, Steve Henderson. He is an antiques dealer, and he's made a lot of jewelry and stuff, and he actually made that necklace as a gift for my late grandmother.
Oh.
And then when she passed, it went to my mother, so it's currently in her possession. But in the script, it was written to be a brooch.
Oh, okay.
And you'll notice there's one point, I think in the climax, when the character Joey Garcia is playing, he says something about like, give me that brooch or something like that. It doesn't like, she's wearing a necklace, but it is like an antique piece of jewelry. So
I think the necklace works better than the brooch.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So we had to, that was like the be all end all, like, guard this with your life kind of thing, because we couldn't find anything, and my mom was like, you know, if you treat it very carefully, you know, you can use this. And I was like, oh god, that was actually a stressful thing, was like trying to make sure that the necklace was taken care of and not damaged. So
Did you have a necklace wrangler?
I should have, because there were a bun there too, and it was missing. So that was kind of, but it was it worked out. Like, yeah, I agree. It worked out a lot better than trying to have like a brooch or something like that, because I don't know, necklaces just sort of pop better.
Well, it's big, it's fancy, it's around her neck. It always looks better to pull a necklace off than like take a brooch off. I mean, that's the necklace has always kind of been that staple that, you know, Dracula will pull the necklace off with the crucifix on it, or, you know, the necklace is always better, I think.
Definitely. And
you could strangle somebody with it, you know, that whole thing.
Totally. And it has kind of, I think it had sort of like an Egyptian flavor by the look.
The stone, yeah, the way that it looks, sure.
It worked pretty perfectly, I thought. So
yeah,
and it's still here if and when we ever get around to making that sequel. So
which this definitely alludes to. So yeah, there's definitely you got that set up there for, you know, Ouija Mummy Massacre 2, you know, to come out.
There are definitely things in development. So
okay,
I would like to do an actual sequel. I have ideas, honestly, for a few, even dare I say it, like spin-offs. Clint Kelly, the cameraman / editor, he has his own distribution company called Skullheart, and we've talked about doing some independent things that he could exclusively distribute. And one thing we joked about, and then I actually started writing a script for, was a spin-off for Joel's character, the Karate Urban character. So he wasn't even his name in the script. It was just like delivery guy. But Seb was like, his name should be same as like with the mailman. He was like, that's Mailman Sam. So like those names came from Seb. So, and then the whole karate thing that Joel kind of, because Joel sometimes doesn't stay like on point with script. He sort of like takes the material and then runs with it in a kind of slightly skewered direction. So you kind of get something a little different, but leaned into that karate angle. And Joel is a martial artist, so I mean, works out. So yeah, I have a script that might be finished soon for a karate artist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and he's watching the film Fist of the Vampire.
Yeah, he's watching Len Kabazinski's movie, so which Len was to give us permission to use some footage. You can't really see it too well, but we were thankful that Len gave us permission to use it, because Seb and I are both big fans of his work. So
a little bit of everything in this movie. That's what I was saying. It's got a very interesting cast in it. So now I'm not going to name who gets killed because I want people to be surprised, but I'm going to name a few of the kills in here. And then we're going to move on to the next movie, because that's God, we've got 2 more to go. So there is one with a flying Ouija board that gets thrown, which I really enjoyed. That one was really good. We have
that was scripted as him being stabbed with the Ouija board.
Flipping it is much better. Yeah.
Clint had the idea of like, I think we can do this neat camera trick and then have it. You know, I think between him and Seb, they came up with the idea of her just flipping it at him, and it plays so much better and it looks way cooler. So it was the wiser decision.
Yeah, but both would work, but the flipping is better. You know, yeah. Definitely. And then we have, you know, of course, guy whose body gets the intestines pulled out of his chest. So we have him, and then we get the flowers put in, which I really liked.
Which is a nice Egyptian touch.
It is. Yeah, because they used to pack them with like that type of stuff. Like, well, what's the stuff that you put in the bathroom to make it smell nice?
Like spices, like potpourri.
Potpourri. That's what I'm thinking. They would do that type of thing in the bodies. Yeah, potpourri.
Yeah, they'd remove all the internal organs and they would stuff the body full of like flowers and spices and things.
Yeah, and that's exactly what she did. She removed the organs and put the flowers in. So that I really liked too. Intestines good. Flowers brings it up 100%. Man being beaten to death with his own leg. That's another good one. Yeah, that's what he gets.
I think he was originally stabbed with his own leg. It played better as, let's just club him to death with his own digit. So it worked better too.
Yeah, it seems like you guys were here on starting out, like stabbed with the Ouija board or stabbed with his foot, but then you brought it up to here and then here and then here with the other ideas that you have that just made it better. And then you got the policeman who comes in at the end, and then who's our link to your world. And then there's the possible sequel. So which hopefully we'll get. And then look, we're done with the page. We're done with a whole 2-sided page is done. And then what do I else have on here? So we talked about that. Name off some of your favorite zombie films and what mummy films. Mummy films. Name some of your favorite zombie films and I keep saying zombie. Name some of your favorite mummy films. And what mummy films influenced you to make Ouija Mummy?
Honestly, I love the Universal Mummy movies. I think that I like a lot of the sequels better than the Karloff one. Dare I say it?
Oh, me too.
That one doesn't have much mummy in it. I like the shambling mummy. That's my jam. I love the Mummy and the Monster Squad. I think that mummy kicks ass. Mummy genre is very difficult because there's so many like shitty mummy movies too. I just watched one the other night, Mummy Rebirth, which was abysmal. So there's just some movies. But
I own that one, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, there's Frankenstein versus the Mummy was actually.
I got that one.
That's a great one. That's got a killer mummy in it. And Full Moon even did a mummy movie called Petrified, which
I own that too. Yeah,
base mummy that could basically petrify you if you looked it in its eyes. So those.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet. Yeah, whenever I go to like Zia Records and stuff, and it's The Mummy something, I normally pick it up. I think Mummy Resurrection is one that I picked up recently. Rise of the Mummy was another one that I picked up. But I haven't watched any of them. I'm like, I love zombie. I keep saying zombie mummy movies. I like zombie movies better, but I really like mummy movies too. They're probably my second favorite like creature.
Yeah, mummy movies, like even the Hammer mummy movies are really fucking good. Again, though, probably more specifically the sequels and not necessarily the original, which is the original has Christopher Lee in it, but some of the sequels are just way more fun to me. The thing that I think made writing this kind of different, and to be honest, they didn't really have too many cinematic influences other than just a love of the monster. The main thing that set it apart a lot for me was the fact that when I started to write it, one of the main intentions was Seb has a real love and fascination for female monsters. So it was my intention to have a female mummy, which you don't really see too often. I guess like the Tom Cruise Mummy movie had a female mummy, but it's kind of a la the Karloff Mummy, where it's like she's got some bandages, but she doesn't really feel like a mummy. She's a hot chick in mummy in like bandages. There's like, it doesn't feel like a real mummy movie to me, even though they were a mummy, but they're not a mummy in it. So I wanted a female character that actually became like a hot mummy. So that was the primary intention there. So that was kind of the thought process there.
Okay.
I couldn't really think of any good movies where there were like good, female mummies. I think one of the Hammer sequels actually had a female mummy, but you don't really see female mummies too much.
No.
And the mummy, I will say, Ahotep the First, she was actually a real person. It's not a made-up character either. She was a real entity in ancient Egypt. So,
so you did your research then, like you said, yeah.
So the whole story that Kathy Weinkoop tells in the beginning, that is all historical. It's not. I wish I could say that was like some of my incredible writing, but I'm not gonna lie. That is all that is history. So her and her son Amasei. So
okay. And were you watching any like mummy movies while you were writing it or anything? Kind of like there were soundtracks from like The Mummy Returns or something like that where you're writing it?
Sadly, no. I was usually when I write, I play audio commentaries for movies in the background. So usually I will just play an audio commentary, or on the rare occasion I might pop in a soundtrack. And usually when I do, I will play like the full moon like soundtrack collection of like movie themes. So I probably had that playing in the background. So and truthfully, I wrote 78 pages in 4 days as the first draft. So
oh, geez.
really, there wasn't a lot of time to actually like absorb a lot of visual stimulation to get inspired. I just had to push something out really fast. So
right.
So.
Interesting. Okay, so I think that ends Ouija Mummy, and now we can move on to our next film, and that is Evil Curiosity. And this you sent me. It is the bootleg edition. It is also starring Brink Stevens. Says it right there, so I'm not a liar. And you even sent me some goodies in this. We got Evil Curiosity. I got a lot of these, and I got another one.
I think they might be variations on that. I feel like one might have credits on it and the other one doesn't.
Yes, this one does. Yeah, down at the bottom, the other one doesn't. Yeah, so that's good. And then we got the Haunting of Miyamoto. This one, so we got that there. This, and we got a different one.
Oh yeah, yep, 2 different ones. Yep.
And then coming soon from C-Word DVD.
Oh yeah.
So I got a bunch of those
from my DVD company this year.
Yeah, so I own one of these, Screambirds, and I'm looking forward to Corona Clown. I own now, of course, Evil Curiosity, and I don't know the other ones. Maybe, and then there's this. So you sign that for me there, and so yeah, so I'm looking forward to what you're going to be bringing out. What is C-Word? Why is it C-Word?
Well, it is not the typical C-word. Most people ask me if it is, so it doesn't stand for cunt. It never did.
Oh, I thought you meant like candy.
No.
Candy word.
I do love candy, though. It was originally when we were doing For Christ's Sake. I was at a weird point in life where the film concepts I was coming up with were all very edgy and not necessarily trying to be, but they were all very envelope pushing concepts. I'll repeat, For Christ's Sake was a movie where Debbie and I played Christian scientists who clone Jesus, and then he starts killing people. So that
like
doesn't
it
go over well with some people. So the C originally good for controversy. Controversial, hot button topic films that can be approached in an intelligent and thought-provoking manner. I don't necessarily come up with controversial concepts per se anymore. I had a ton, some of which I will definitely not mention out loud on the internet. But I think they're more grounded things now. But the C is more for me nowadays. It's more for concept, coming up with something that's fun and original and, can stand out. So the C is for concept. And I've been asked to join other people's production companies or change, the idea of changing mine. And I'm sure I can say it, and you can think of numerous people. And no offense to anyone that does this, but I've never been someone that wanted to rebrand or change my company name. That's what I started with. That's what I'm sticking with. So C-Word is me. So that will be the name of my distribution company is C-Word DVD. And you have the bootleg edition of Evil Curiosity. We did
right.
25 copy run. What number do you have?
I have number 17 of 25.
So, yep. So limited 25 copy run. It is the movie only. The actual DVD release will have actual features. There'll be a lot of features on it. So, and that will be the first release for C-Word. So,
yeah, and there on the back there's Brink, and she's speaking firmly to the lead in the movie. It's not rated.
Nope.
Yeah, she does. And it's 22 minutes, not rated. It looks like the film was made, from what I could tell, like in 2016, but released in 2020. Would that be right?
Correct. Yes, we shot it in, I believe, May of 16. I went out to LA for about 9 days, and we shot that for about 3 days, I believe, 2-3 days, and had a blast making it. That was honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that is genuinely the funnest vacation. Like, when I take vacations, they're working vacations. I don't like just take a vacation like, just like do nothing, like I can't do that. I take working vacations and I like go somewhere and try and make something. So, but that was genuinely one of the funnest like 9 days of my life, was being there making that movie and just being there with everyone that was there and just having a blast. So it was a experience that I will, no matter what, kind of the same as Ouija. I mean, honestly, I just had such a good time that I will always hold a special place in my heart for that movie, even if it's a short. I don't give a fuck. I had fun being there with those people. It was a good experience. So
yeah, it shouldn't matter if it's a feature or a short. As long as you had fun on it. So that's what really counts.
It was a good experience, and it's not a perfect short by any standard, but I think it has a lot of positive things about it, and I think it's entertaining. So I'm happy with it. So as far as I'm concerned,
it's fun. It's a solid 22 minutes. So yeah. It's nice. You got that bookstore in there that looks really good. And and I want to say this before we get into the film. I think I got this version, the bootleg version from you. Is I saw on Facebook you were going to a convention, and you're like, going to be selling this at the convention, and I'm like, ooh, me. So I messaged you and said, please save one for me, and I'll pick one up for you. And that's how I got my copy of it. So it's something that I don't think you can really get out there, right? Because you said there's only 25 copies of it. So was this just a convention type of thing?
Basically, yeah. When the official release comes out, it'll be available for purchase online officially through Kunaki. But that version, we just pressed a limited amount and they went away, and that's that. So.
And now you have worked with Brink before, so she was the voice in Slimoids. Yes. So was it? How was it with getting her? Because now she's there. She's in LA. So I mean, it's not like she doesn't have to take a plane anywhere.
Yeah, it was honestly very easy. I mean, I had just worked with her. It's funny because I had email correspondence with Brink, so I've known her, quote unquote, for far longer than before we made that movie. I talked to her back when we did For Christ's Sake. I had been in talks with her about being in that, and it didn't work out for a couple different reasons. But we've had the connection and stayed in contact. And when I was working on Haunting of Miyamoto with Jake Selch in Missouri, we started production with one person and it didn't work out, and production shut down, and we had to kind of revamp things, and the script got rewritten a little bit, and then we reconvened about 7 months later, and at my suggestion I said let's get Brink, because she's professional. She's
very
good. She's on point. She will show up, know everything, and she will hit all the marks and do it like a champ. And they trusted me on that, and we hired her, and we shot with her, and I believe it was March of 16, and she killed it.
Yeah, I recommend her highly to people. She's 100%. She's I really liked working with her.
Yeah, and Nicola had already worked with her, I think maybe the year or two before. They had worked on Night of Something Strange together, a movie by Jonathan Straiton. And most of Brink's role got cut out of that movie as the teacher, though. But she had a few scenes, so Nicole worked with her on that, and they got along really well. So when they were on that Mia Moss, it was just like, it was cake, and that was just such a good experience working with her. And so I was like, we toyed with the idea of other people, and some people threw their name into the hat for the librarian. But I was just like, hey, Brink, what do you think about this? And she said, ooh, well, I've never played a librarian before, so I'm in. So, and her character name Eleanor was actually her idea too. She was like, I've never played an Eleanor. That would be nice. So we're like, done. Because
it's funny that you say that, because in the credits it says Eleanor, but for some reason I saw it as Elevator, and I'm like, why would anybody name somebody Elevator? I'm like, that is such a weird name. And like, oh, it's Eleanor.
Eleanor. And you know what? She did it. She came out on the morning of day 2, I believe, and she drove out because we shot. I forget the city. It was a city just outside of Los Angeles, and we shot with her. She drove out, and dude, I mean, she's Brink Stevens. She slayed it. It's cake for her. So she was so good. So, and that location, I mean, she had so much fun in that location too. We all did, because the director, Wayne, he had found a bookstore, which it was called a Castle of Books, is what it was called. And it was just like, shit stacked to the ceiling, like it was just like crap everywhere. And it was a great location. And
yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and we went in there, and the guy that had given him permission to shoot there was there, and he wasn't necessarily all that friendly. He was kind of, like, he didn't feel like he was digging the vibe of us being in there and doing what we were doing. But at one point, Brink was looking around, and she saw some artwork on the wall, and she pointed at it, and she said, oh, I remember when my husband did that. And he was like, your husband? She's like, oh yeah, I was married to I believe Dan Stevens was his name.
Dave Stevens, yeah, the Rocketeer. Yeah, very well known, artist.
So
yeah.
it was like, oh hey, yeah. It was like he was like all about it. He was like about it. Then like he thought he was just like ecstatic. Like he had creator of the Rocketeer's widow like in his store, so he just was like on cloud 9.
Yeah, I mean the female character that's the Rocketeer's girlfriend is based off of Brink.
Yep. So yeah, I see that.
So, yeah.
She helped us in more ways than one. Let's put it that way. So, after that, he was ecstatic to have us there. Like he was not feeling it to begin with, and then like she made that off the cuff remark, and he was just all googly eyed.
Just
so, he was like, "Oh, you want to shoot behind the counter?" It was like he didn't care. So it was good.
That's funny.
It was good.
Well, now I noticed that it is like a bookstore, like a used bookstore, but the guy uses it like a library, though. So why kind of have him check out books instead of just buying books?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think we were going off the cuff, truthfully. So it was written as a library, and then we got a bookstore. So I don't know. Just sort of happened that way. I don't think any of us really put any real thought process.
I think way too much about this stuff. I mean, there are bookstores where they have that box that's outside, and people can come and exchange books for free. So
and this store did have like exterior shelves and things like out along the front of the store and the sidewalk and stuff where they had books like outside. I think you can see some of them too in the final shot when Brent comes to unlock the doors. I think some of the shit's still outside the store, so it's clearly already open. But he had a lot of stuff. That book no longer exists. I think he went out of business, or he.
Oh no, that's too bad. I like used bookstores. Yeah.
So that location does not exist, but it's nice that we were able to get it on camera because it was a great location.
Yeah. Well, Axmas 2 is shot, a little bit at the bookstore. So we shot in their warehouse. And I'm hoping to shoot there again for part 3. So I'm like, I got to still check, crossing my fingers that they're still here. So otherwise I got to figure something else out. But bookstores are great places to shoot at. It's great atmosphere.
Definitely.
And you feel smarter just being in it.
Exactly. Even had used DVDs in that store too, I remember, because I remember buying a couple like used movies in there. Like for like $1 a piece or something.
Yeah, that was our deal. Is they just said, oh yeah, you could use the location, just buy some books. So I bought like 5 books, and some other people bought some books. And same thing with the restaurant. Can we shoot at your restaurant? Yeah, just buy a meal. So I treated the cast and crew to lunch when we got done shooting. So a lot of these places, that's all they want. They just buy some product and you're good.
Yeah, I think a few of us bought things while we were in there. I think the director also bought a couple DVDs as well. So like I think I don't even remember what I bought. I think I got like a DVD of something called like Rise of the Undead or something. It was abysmal zombie movie, mind you. And then I don't know why, but I think I bought like a used DVD of Torque with Ice Cube. And,
I know that one. Yeah. Okay.
It was like a DVD. Yeah, there was like a DVD that was like, it just had a white piece of paper as the insert and like a title printed on it that said something about like some kind of church music, something or other. I was like, this looks weird. I want to get this. So I grabbed that, and I think it had like a CD in it, I think, of like weird like church music. So, but I was like, whatever, I'll buy a couple random things from here. Fuck it. So
that's funny. Now, one of the things I liked in this was the test that the guy does with like him and his girlfriend, where he, now it's funny with her, he just kind of goes like this, and she's like, ow, my hand. And then she puts it down. And if it burns, that means that she's got like a good, healthy soul. The thing that I noticed with her is that, I don't know if this is intentional or not, she just puts that thing into his friggin' hand. And it's just like, oh my God, is this revenge? Because she really jams that thing in there. And it's like, it's kind of like, he's getting like a prostate exam from her or something like that. I mean, it's just, his was just like that. And it just, I kind of went back a little bit like, oh my God, obviously it's an effect, but like in real life, that would like really hurt. And of course, he comes out with, it's cold. So I find it interesting that heat is good when normally heat is bad, like hell, and cold would normally be good. So it's kind of flipped. Now, kind of like with Ouija Mummy, is this based on anything?
I truthfully, I don't know if that had any root in truth, as far as any kind of like religious rites or beliefs. Wayne Sorrell wrote the script for Evil Curiosity, and originally it was conceived as a prequel short to a feature that he has wanted to make for a long time that we've never gotten off the ground yet. So we did that as a starter, point for collaboration. And he came up with everything in it himself. I don't know. It could have been made up. I really don't know. I never asked, but it was such an interesting concept. So
yeah, I could see this as like a starter for something. I could see doing something bigger in this. I mean, I like that he put up like the have you seen these people posters like right at the bookstore, kind of taunting, Brink's character. And I like her as the librarian. I think that she's fun in that. She looks like she's enjoying herself. But you're in this. You play dark figure, and you're up against the wall as like one of the girls, like the main girl's friend is talking to him, and you're kind of slipping down a wall with like a hat on and like a coat, and you're a dark figure. Whose dark figure? What is that?
The dark figure, you know, it's supposed to be kind of like an early inclination that he is conjuring dark spirits, and you know, as a prelude to the finale where he actually does conjure an actual demon. So he was, I guess you could assume that he was probably had some, you know, dark energy in his room, and he was communicating with it when she showed up. So when he opens the door, it starts to subside and, you know, disappear. But that was me. So again,
no dialogue though.
Situation of, yes, the perfect role. Situation of necessity where we needed someone to do it, so I was like, all right, put me in the costume and I'll climb up.
It's my favorite shot of the film because you don't notice it right off the bat. You're focusing on them talking at the door, and then you kind of see something to the corner of your eye, and it's this guy who's like this, who's kind of just moving down the wall in this coat and hat, and you're wondering like, why doesn't she see him? And it's like, oh shit, he's obviously something else. And then in the credits, you're called Dark Figure, so he's definitely something else. So it's done well. I liked it.
Yeah, and maybe it's something that was only visible for him too. You know,
I think it is.
He
was
communicating with it, so I think it's open to suggestion, or to, you know, it's pretty subjective. So, but yeah, it's kind of it's a neat shot, because kind of by the time you notice it's there, it's already pretty much almost gone, so makes you hit the rewind button.
Yeah, and then I like your I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but kind of the Evil Dead hand bursting through a body, and it kind of comes out with like the fingernails on it. Is very kind of like at the end of the Evil Dead when that hand comes out of the body. Reminded me a lot of that.
My favorite shot. That's my favorite
That's a good shot. The hand looks really good too. So does the body.
Coming out, yeah. That actually looked really well.
Excuse me. And then on this one, you're listed as, of course, you know, producer, you're production manager, script supervisor, and continuity. So once again, you got your hands full.
Doing everything. That was a location shoot in California. Wayne pretty much, you know, like I said, he found the Castle of Books location. He found the park location, and the dorm room stuff was actually all shot in his apartment. So, which was, you know, obviously the easiest location to have. So,
sure.
And the bookstore, like I said, it started off kind of, you know, rocky, but then the guy was like, Team Brink. So it was cake. The difficult location was the final location in the park, because we went to a park which was, you know, a big, pretty busy public park, but there was like part of the park that was closed off for some reason. I don't remember why, but he's like, we're gonna go in here and shoot. So we went in there, and it was like this really sketch looking, I called it rape forest, honestly.
Oh, geez.
It was. I'm not even exaggerating. It was fucking scary. There was like garbage and just like drug shit like all over the ground. We were shooting, and we tied her up to the tree, and a vagrant came out of the woods and started talking to us, and he was holding a pipe like up in the air, like in a hitting position. And he's like, what are you guys doing?
Well, somebody was probably murdered there. You know, that's why it was all, you know, taped off or whatever.
Finding a dead body would not have felt uncommon back there, because that guy came out and he's like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're making a movie. And he's like, oh yeah.
Okay. Where's your permit?
He's like watching him like, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, you may play security if you would like with your lead pipe.
And truthfully, you know, in all honesty, I can understand her position. Erin Marie Hogan, the actress tied to the tree, that was the lead. She was not comfortable with him being there and very vocal about it because she's tied to a tree, like she can't get away.
Well, yeah, if anything happens, you're out there like cartoon characters, and she's like tied to a tree, and there's this little dust patterns left.
I mean, there was a group of us there, though. So I mean, if anything happened, we could have like bum rushed the guy, but like because there were numerous ones of us, and I believe one of the cast members was like, "You need to get rid of this guy," and I was like, "I'm not gonna tell the creepy vagrant holding a pipe in a hitting position," because he never lowered his arm. He had it up the entire time. Like he had clearly seen or experienced some stuff back there. I was like, I'm not going to tell this crazy vagrant holding the pipe ready to strike that he needs to go away and he can't watch us. He's not being difficult or being rude or anything like that. Just leave him be. Let's get it and leave, and it'll be fine.
Yes, sometimes it all depends on the situation. When I was going to Los Angeles City College, I was doing a directing exercise, a scene from Red Dragon, and who actually stars Mike, who was in Creepazoids. He was the first guy to get killed in Creepazoids, and I was very proud to have an actor from Creepazoids in my film. And right next door to me were gang members, because we lived in that type of neighborhood and we were shooting outside, and they were just playing music really loud. It's like, fuck, we can't shoot with this. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, I'm going to go over and ask them to turn it down. And I did. And I was the nicest person that you could possibly believe. And I did, and they did. They turned it down for like 2 hours. I said, we just need it for like 2 hours. And they turned it up later on, and it all matters. Sometimes you got to leave the person alone. If you know that there's a threat, be as nice as possible. Maybe even, hey, homeless guy, for $20, you want to be in our movie? There's certain ways to diffuse it instead of being like, hey, you homeless fuck, get out of here, you asshole. And then somebody gets hit in the head with a bar.
Yeah, and like I said, he wasn't being rude. He was more curious and fascinated than angry and upset. So I was like, just go with it. Let's just get it done real fast, and we'll clean up and we'll leave. And he was saying some stuff. I mean, he said, I think he had experienced some inappropriate sexual advances in there. Based on some of the stuff that he had said. So I mean, he had, I think, experienced some stuff. And he was in a defensive mode. So,
well, you're in his area. That's his home. You're in his home.
Exactly. And I'm like, he's not bothering anything. Just let's focus on the scene. It's not a long scene. Let's just knock it out, and we'll bolt. And he stood and watched, and he didn't interrupt anything. He wasn't difficult or nasty or anything. He was, like I said, he was more fascinated at watching us do it than anything. And when we were done, it was just like, all right, and that was that. But keep in mind, like you saw it, she's tied to a tree and she's screaming her head off. In a closed part of the park. So someone in the open part of the park called the cops. So right as we wrapped and we're untying her off the tree, I mean, we didn't even get the rope off the tree completely. We left the rope on the tree, and we're picking up the candles and the body bag and all that. We see lights, and they're not coming from ground level. There was a police chopper circle. Spotlight down on us, because they thought someone was like being probably like raped or murdered back there. So,
well, at Rape Park, yes, I would assume that.
So like, and we came out of the forest and we're like rushing to, bolt, and some horseback cops rode up and stopped us, and they questioned us. And Erin, to her credit, it always helps when cops stop you, especially to just have a charismatic pretty actress because she did all she straight up said, she's like, let me do the talking. And she went up and talked to me. Oh, we were shooting a movie, I'm so sorry. And they're like, you're making a movie? And she's like, yes, that was me, I'm sorry, I'm an actress. I'm like, that was you screaming? She's like, yep. And she kind of did this like curtsy thing where she sort of like bowed a little bit, and she's like, I die for a living. And they're like, damn, you must be a good actress. And she's like, thank you. And they're like, everything's okay though, no one got hurt? And we're like, yeah, we're sorry if it caused any, whatever. And they're like, all right, well, yeah, it's cool, you guys have a good day. And it was just like nothing, and they just let us go. It was not a big deal. So even though the police chopper circled us,
right,
which was like the most intense, like one of the most horrific feeling experiences humanly possible. But it ended up being just sort of a whatever thing. Like I said, Aaron brushed it over really, really nicely, and they were just like,
all depends on how you handle it. That's it. Yeah, if a man went up to the cops and was just a little abrasive, it could have gone horribly wrong. But you have maybe like a woman go up to the cops who's very nice and sorry officers, goes a completely different direction.
Yeah, we'd have all been arrested.
Yeah.
Which would have sucked because that would not have been a good cap to my LA trip. So
well, and then the last thing I want to say on this, and then we'll move on to Slaughter Daughter. Mm-hmm. So we'll try to wrap this up fairly soon. We'll say let's say 20 minutes, and then we'll spend that time mm-hmm. on Slaughter Daughter, and then I'll let you go. So I do notice, among other people in the special thanks, is Phil Herman.
Yeah, I had, before we shot that, I remember I had, I want to say, maybe a stack of brand new copies of Terror at Bloodfart Lake, and I was selling them.
I'm always amazed by that title.
As am I. But I had a brand new stack of them, and I was one of the producers on that, and I was selling them, I think, for like $20 a pop plus shipping, and anyone who bought a copy would get a special thanks in the credits, because that money was basically going to be what was going to fund my plane ticket. So most of the people in the credits that had special thanks were people who bought copies of that movie to help actually fly me out there. So I was the lead producer, and I believe Joey Caps was one of the other producers. He actually made a good monetary investment towards that and took care of Brink for it. And he was originally going to distribute it for his distribution company, which was CCE, Caps Collective Entertainment. And then for whatever reason, CCE kind of ceased to exist. And I asked him, I was like, what do you want to do with this? And he was like, I can come back and do a limited run of it myself, or if you want to just keep it yourself and do whatever you can, I don't care. So I kept ownership of it, and that's how that went down. So
okay. It's nice to see his name on there. Phil's always supportive with stuff, so he's a good guy. So that is going to wrap up Evil Curiosity. And now we will move on to Slaughter Daughter. And it looks like, so the film was 1 hour and 17 minutes, which was a good run length for me. Looks like it was originally made in 2012, but came out 2014. And what's nice on Amazon Prime is that it actually does give like little like trivia stuff. So it looks like some of this is Trauma, because obviously Lloyd Kaufman is in it. It looks like he recommended like the lead actress for this. The little trivia was interesting. One of the things I liked about it, it's Brain Damage Films who released it. So actually, before I get into anything else, so how did you get involved with Slaughter Daughter? What was your part in this?
So, like I said, I'd done a lot of films with Nicola Fiore. She had been in For Christ's Sake and For Nicole's Sake and Terror at Bloodfart Lake. She'd been in a lot of stuff that I'd been involved in. and she ended up moving to New York. And when she went to New York, we had already worked with Lloyd Kaufman on For Christ's Sake. So she got to New York and ended up having a loose association with Trauma. And she did some conventions and events with Lloyd. And she got to know Travis Campbell, who worked for Lloyd. He was the lead in-house editor at Trauma for a good number of years. And she got to be really good friends with him and his girlfriend, Lauren Miller. And they wanted to make a movie themselves. And originally, they had done a movie just prior to Slaughter Daughter called Mr. Bricks, a heavy metal murder musical. And it starred Nicola and the guy named Tim Dax, who is in Slaughter Daughter. He's the muscle-bound guy with the luchador helmet tattooed on his bald head.
That was the strangest thing to me. This movie is absolutely bizarre in so many ways. And I kept asking myself, I really hope that's makeup, because who would do that tattoo to themselves? Right? Wow. Yeah, I guess him.
He and her had worked with Travis and Lauren on Mr. Bricks, and that was a full-on like action heavy metal musical film. Very experimental. And it ended up getting DVD distribution through Trauma. Lloyd had a little cameo in that as well, I believe. So they wanted to do, for whatever reason, I don't remember why, but I wasn't involved in that one. But she was basically like, I had a great working experience with Travis and his wife or his girlfriend on this film. They're coming up with an idea that they want to be, specifically a vehicle for me. And I heard the title, and I'm a big title Nazi.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
The title has to really pop. It's got to be something really unique, or I'll often say I love made up word titles like Animator or Slimoids, because you can put that into any search engine and everything that pops up is going to be specifically for that film. Nothing else, because no one else is ever going to say that word. So I like some kind of, I hate titles that are just like the fill in the blank, or just like one word generic shit. I can't stand that. I love rhyming titles. So Slaughter Daughter just popped to me.
It's a good title. Yeah.
I love that title. What's it about? And it was, a former beauty queen who has a meltdown, after getting left at the altar, and she spends time in an institution and then gets released just about time to attend her overbearing mother's wedding, and she loses her shit and kills a lot of people. And I was like, that sounds fascinating. And they wrote a script. The script was really good. And, I could picture Nicola just all too easily in the role of Farah in it. And I was like, well, who's going to play the mother? And that was kind of a thing, trying to find the mother. I think at points, Felissa Rose had been tried to get, and that didn't quite work out. I remember even approaching Monique Parent at one point, and that didn't work out. And Lloyd, I think, being Travis's boss, was like, Lisa Rowland would be really good. I can put in a word. And Lisa had been in some classic Trauma stuff, because she'd been in Class of Nukem High 2 and 3. So he gave her a shout, and she agreed to it, and I loved everything that was coming together, and we discussed some, fundraising ideas. And I had a folder with, all my information about the film, kind of like basically the EPK, in a binder, and presented it to people, and was like, submit, donate this, basically like an in-person Indiegogo. You want to donate this much? You'll get this, I'll give you copies of that, So I was selling DVDs, like promoting like a madman online and in person to anyone and everyone I knew. We raised a good little chunk of money, just in grassroots fundraising without using like a platform to do it. And, they made the movie, and I just kind of oversaw it from a distance. So
It's an interesting film. It's I got a very kind of Giallo type of feel from it. The music is very Giallo. It's weird. It's like Troma meets Argento.
Yeah, I believe some of his ideas were to be very European influenced, while holding a vibe of being very soap operatic. So it's very much like an R-rated soap opera with like Italian giallo overtones and colors, and with a very experimental approach, because it's very experimental, the same as their previous film, Mr. Bricks. They're very just unique visual experiences, kind of like comparable, like anime, or it's just a very like visual experimental feeling experience, and you don't really know what I mean until you watch it, you know what I mean? But when you watch it, you get it.
Right.
That's what, like, it's, so there is, yeah, and with the music, Travis composed all the music for it as well.
Yeah, I saw that in the credits. I was impressed because I really liked those. It came off very Goblin-esque.
Yeah, it's just very throwback feeling. It feels like some very like late 70s-ish, early 80s Italian film, and I love that vibe about it. So
yeah, because at first I was kind of like, watching a little bit and was like, okay. And then the minute that music kicked in, it grabbed me. And I'm like, ooh, are they going for this? Are we going for Suspiria or Deep Red or something here? And then it really grabbed me once that music kicked in. And it just, the colors, the camera angles. There's a great shot in it where the lead actress, so I guess the Slaughter daughter, is sitting at a mirror, and she's looking in the mirror, and you can see in the background that it's playing a movie. And so there's like three things going on in the scene all at once. And I really like that. And it's very Italian. And so that shot was really nice. And then, of course, they're playing Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, which is shot in Italy. And so it had that very Italian feel with it. And I really appreciated that effort being put out with it. So I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, Travis and Lauren are incredibly creative visual artists, and they are really good storytellers. So I had no notes. Like I was very happy with everything. And it's one of those people that you will probably either love or you'll hate it, because I've talked to a lot of people that just, they don't really feel the vibe of it, and that's okay. No. It's like it's an experience. I think it's something you have to really like take in, and because it's just such a fascinating visual palette. And I think it's honestly arguably it's Nicola's best performance in her entire career. So, and I know that was an especially exhausting and physically and emotionally taxing role to do for her. So for years I wanted to do, I would still love to do a sequel. I actually wrote a treatment. For I think 2 sequels.
Oh wow!
That I pitched to them, and they loved both of them. They just never went anywhere. So
that would be interesting. So it's
yeah, I think Sarah is a fascinating character. So I would love to see her do like where she would go next after everything that happens in that movie. And I had ideas about it that they dug. It just, nothing ever, like in film, indie film, sometimes shit pans out and sometimes it don't. So
right. And the one thing I did not like, and I made a big uppercase note about this, kicking the dog.
I can already guess what you're gonna say. Yep, the kicking the dog.
Yep. And I know obviously they didn't kick the dog, but still, I mean, it's just like,
it was. I think it was one of those instances where they did sort of like a like run it in reverse kind of thing.
Yeah, because you actually see the dog and it's in slow-mo. And even if it's off screen, I don't like it. But because you actually see, I don't know if they did it in slow-mo and she just kind of picked the dog up with her foot and then put it down, or like you said, like did it in reverse or something. But it's actually seeing the dog being kicked. That's what got me. If it was off screen and you just hear the then that's one thing. But and I was just like,
it was faked though. So the dog was taken care of.
Yeah, and of course at the end it says no animals were hurt, during this, and I know it wasn't, but
The people, on the other hand,
one thing I did notice, because I'm always looking for details, is there actually is a Stephen King Bachman books in the background of the main girl's bedroom. And there's a long row of paperback books, and I could see it right there because it's like that thick, and there's a skull on it, and it's orange, and it just says the Bachman books. And I'm like, somebody's a fan of Stephen King, and somebody knows Richard Bachman from Stephen King too. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, it's very possible because a lot of those interior locations were, I believe, Nicola and her wife Mel's apartment, and they lived in an apartment building, and Travis and his girlfriend, the director and the writer, lived right across the hall from them. So they were literally open your door and they're right across the hall. So they were directly in like arm's length from each other. And I think the interiors, I could be wrong, but I feel like the interiors were a combination of both of their apartments. So it wasn't one of their bedrooms. So someone that was genuinely all their stuff. So yeah, one of them probably did have some.
I'm such a dork. I paused it, but because it's Prime, I had to watch it on my laptop and not my TV. And I was kind of like, are there other Stephen King books in there? What are they looking at? I'm going past like the half naked girl on the bed, and I'm looking, as I'm such a dork, and I'm looking at the books.
Everyone else is looking at Ruby LaRocca or like Nicola, and you're looking at
and I'm looking at paperback books of Stephen King. I'm such an idiot.
I feel like in one scene too, there might have been a poster for Chainsaw Sally.
Yes, yeah,
background.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, the Chainsaw Sally party or something like that. Like it was a poster for like a party for it.
Nicola had worked on the Chainsaw Sally web series and had appeared in 2 episodes of that for Jimmy O and April Burrell. So she had been friends with them, and I think they gave her a bunch of swag when she worked with them, and she had like the Chainsaw Sally poster and shit. So
yeah, it was a big poster. Yeah,
give that shout out to
Sure, why not? And once again, there's a couple kills in here that I liked, but I'm not going to say who they're from or who got them. But there's the stab wounds in the back. I was very impressed with, because you never see stab wounds. You just see blood. This, you actually saw these wounds that were like this in the person's back. And I'm just like, ooh, let me make a note of that, because that looks really cool. And the gunshot to the head and the way that the actor fell and hit the wall, very impressed with that. Looked very realistic. And the person did a very good fall against the wall too.
Yeah, I think the stab, I believe that was like a pork loin. It was like a big piece of like meat from the grocery store, like the butcher shop. And
okay.
They put it in the outfit and
makes sense.
Stuck it that way. And it honestly looks great. And the gunshot played out really well too. I think that with a title like Slaughter Daughter, you might expect it to be a lot gorier and lurid than probably what you get. But I think is definitely more effective. It's funny because, not to backtrack, but it's like, we talked about how a lot of subs movies have had so many releases, and they did a horror boobs VHS of like animated, and I remember even talking to Wild Eye and Horror Boobs about Ouija Mummy, and They're like, oh yeah, we know it's on our radar. Like, you know, kind of like, ooh, maybe Ouija Mummy will come out through horror boobs on VHS. Yeah, it never happened, I guess, because it didn't have boobs. So it didn't have lurid content like you kind of want, you know. So, and with this one, you know, I mean, this Slaughter Daughter almost had a VHS release at one point. We were in talks with someone to do a VHS release of it, and it didn't work out because of the distribution company that put the DVD out. So they wanted too much involvement, and they wanted it to be a multi-picture deal where the company would release a number of their library onto limited run VHSs, and the company that wanted to do it only really just wanted to do Slaughter Daughter, and it didn't work out. So,
Okay.
So unfortunately, we just this one paltry DVD release, but that DVD though, from what I know, was, you know, like I think it was the top seller for Brain Damage that year.
Oh, good.
So,
good. It deserves it.
I mean, I had gotten a message from Fredel and Ray last year. I think he had been at the AFM or something, you know, the American Film Market, and he saw people there for Maxim Media International, the company that, you know, the parent company of Brain Damage. People there repping Slaughter Daughter, trying to sell it to more foreign territories, like all these years later. So it's like it's still, you know, it might not be accessibly available on DVD, but it's still like getting all around the globe. It's one of the best distributed movies I've been involved in.
Good.
The distribution deal, yeah, the distribution deal wasn't very lucrative, but we knew that going into it, and I told them that, you know, I can say this to you and you'll know what I mean. You know what you're going to get when you go into a distribution deal with Trauma.
Yeah. I've heard many things. So, yes. Yeah.
No detriment to anyone, but I knew that going into this distribution deal would probably be something similar, be very akin to that type of setup. But the difference would be that they get things out there and you get eyes on the product. So we agreed to take the bullet, basically, take what I would say a questionable distribution deal where we knew we would probably never see a penny from them, because we haven't in like 7 years. We've never seen a penny.
Oh, wow.
From them as individuals. But the movie got everywhere. You know, and it was in rental stores. It was, for a good period of time, it was on cable on demand. Like I said, it's been sold in numerous foreign territories. Like, it got all over the place. So we got amazing exposure from it. Of course, I made sure to make my investments back, because I'm so I actively, one thing that I go into distribution deals with too, as a producer, I won't assign a movie to a distribution company that does not. I have specific rules. I won't sign a movie to a company if they change the title. That's not, like, this is the title, that's the brand of the film. You're not changing the title. That's not doable. You can never own or have exclusive rights to sequel anything or remake anything. So, like, say we signed Ouija Mummy and Like Animator to Wild Eye, they weren't allowed to change the titles, and they don't own anything sequel rights. So if we decide to do a sequel, we can do whatever we want without.
That's good. Yeah, they're notorious for changing titles. Yeah.
And I told them, say, like with Like Animator, that's not a real word. I was like, if you sell it to foreign countries, you can change the title to whatever you want then. But in America, it's called this. So I'm a big stickler for that. So the titles have to remain the same. You don't get sequel or remake rights to anything. And I have to be able to get copies, even if I'll buy them, but as long as they offer some kind of a filmmaker rate to be able to get copies, so that I can get my own copies, and then I can flip them to make back my investments, which I did on Slaughter Daughter very, very well. So, because that movie sold very easily. The cover, everyone involved in the film hated that cover because it's very like late night Skinamax looking. So, and it's not Nicola on the cover either. So they hated it. But I was like, you know what? I know you hate it, but one thing you need to realize is that you might not like it, but that will move units. It's all about sales. Sell, sell, sell. There's a half-naked woman in lingerie brandishing a kitchen knife on the cover. It's gonna sell like a motherfucker, and it did. So,
right. Well, the actress is at the end of the film on like a bed holding a butcher knife, and she's naked, but she's covered.
Yep. Yeah. Very tastefully. Yeah, that's one of my favorite end credit sequences to any movie I've ever worked on.
Oh, it's nice to look at.
Opening. Yeah, I love that you get the picture credits, but they're at the beginning, like it's like you're watching a TV episode of something, and then you get the end credits with the nice zoom out of her on the bed with the knife while the creepy theme plays. It's a great credit sequence, I think. So,
yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we have come to the end. I think we've except for the explosive ending to the film, which is all I'll say. I guess that would be about it. So, is there anything that you would like to promote? Any other things you would like to talk about with this thing? Past, present, future stuff that you want people to know about? What's going on in your world?
Too much. It's being in this post-COVID world has made things kind of tricky. But we're, as we're still bouncing back from COVID in my home, so it's made things difficult. But we're still trucking along.
You don't have the best governor, let's say that.
No comment. But yeah, I'm still obviously staying busy. Been trying to write a lot, and have a lot of collaborations in development. The big thing that I'm trying to focus on personally is trying to get Seaward DVD up and running properly, because I have a whole slate of things there, as you saw on the insert card for Evil Curiosity. I believe there's a handful of titles there. We have the official DVD release of Evil Curiosity.
I got them all right there.
I'll be doing my own version of Slimoids. I will have domestic rights to distribute a few films from Clement Chevalier, which includes Screambirds, Attack of the Nuclear Pigeons, and Corona Clown, which I was a producer on. And I will be releasing his next movie, A Hell of a Night, domestically in America. Bunch of other things. I have some original productions that I'm trying to get going for Seaward as well, like the Surrealities franchise, which will be kind of experimental horror films inspired and influenced by classic authors like Lovecraft and Poe. So I have one of those in development called False Idol that I'm hoping to shoot here soon. So I'm just mainly trying to focus on Seaward DVD right now. So anyone watching should definitely keep an eye on my social medias and keep watch for that, because got all that. I mean, I'm even wearing, I don't know if you can see it, the promotion.
Oh, that's on the list in this. Yeah. Out for Blood.
Out for Blood, which is a crazy, just sort of underground, low budget Canadian slasher movie made by Kyle Robert Shorter. I'll be doing the official American release of that, and we're working on his sequel now as well, Out for Blood 2. So we'll be doing that. So a lot of stuff in development at Seaward. So
Sweet.
And hopefully everyone will love it and support the brand when it launches. So
yeah. So where can people buy your films?
A number of my things you can obviously find on Amazon, obviously. A lot of things you can find for streaming or download to Amazon or Vimeo. I know a lot of things like the JHP things with Jack Hunter you can find through his Kunaki page. And a lot of things, I mean, I sell a lot of things personally myself, so I'm always promoting online and always have an inventory of my own stuff here that I need to get rid of. So, but hopefully, you know, once Seaward launches, I'll be more focused on those titles, and I'm kind of thinning out a lot of the other stuff, and I'll just kind of focus on the ones that I am officially distributing. Fingers crossed at that point, but I've always got things available myself as well. I don't really have a website at the moment, so it's all very DIY.
So if somebody sees something that you're promoting on Facebook, they could just message you to send you like a private message.
Absolutely. I mean, I even have an album on Facebook that's literally just images of, you know, movies I have for sale. So
okay, people, there you go. I mean, what about Terror of Blood Fart Lake? Can people still get that?
Terror at Blood Fart Lake is unfortunately out of print and I no longer have any copies. So
no, say it isn't so.
The crazy thing is, you know what? If you find copies online, they will probably be a king's ransom, because that movie I have seen for sale on Amazon and eBay, given the time, anywhere from $100 to $500 a copy.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and I was lucky enough to grab a whole bundle of them from Ron Bonk before they went out of print. So, but yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things to get on physical that I've had any level of involvement with at this point, is Terror at Blood Fart Lake.
Got to spend a lot of money to go to Blood Fart Lake. So, you know,
if you want a vacation to remember, that your
Blood Fart Lake.
You have to invest in.
Wow. Well, okay. So I think on that note, we will wrap this up, and I'll get some links from you. So when this becomes available next week, there'll be links to wherever we can, you know, watch or purchase your stuff. And people, please, you know, watch for whatever Dustin is promoting, and then contact him to see if you can get it. You've seen the stack that I have. Some of it you can get, some of it you can't. But that's the awesome thing about independent film is, you know, some of that stuff you just can't get anymore. So you got to hold on to it. So, you know, it's a little bit of gold in there, in their Blood Fart Lake. But and that's now going to stick in my head for like the rest of the night. So
now you're gonna have to go find it and watch it now.
I think so. I think I'm going to have to, and its sequel. So because if it has a sequel, I got to watch the sequel too.
It does have Return to Blood Fart Lake. So.
Because there were so many unanswered questions in Terror at Blood Fart Lake that they had to make Return to Blood Fart Lake.
One thing I can pride myself in is that for a period, that movie was even the best-selling title in SRS history.
I would not doubt it for a second with that title.
It was a selling gold. So obviously Ron Bond told Chris Seaver I need a sequel. So
give it to me now. Give it to me now. Money, money, money. Give it to me now.
The first one might still be available on Amazon Prime. I'm not for certain though.
I'll have to take a look. I'll have to see. So I thought of getting Prime myself. So I'll have to take a look. So, but that's for a whole other day. So
if it's there, it's worth it just for that. So
yeah. So, all right, man, I'm going to sign off, and I thank you for being on the show, and I thank everybody for watching. And we will definitely do this, again. And because you have a whole slew of films on IMDb, so there's definitely stuff to talk about. And yeah, like I said, this will be out next week. So thank you.
Awesome.
And you're welcome. And I guess that's it. So I will give my regular goodbye to people. Bye, everybody. Bye. And we will see you on the next One Filmmaker, One Film. Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center Coffee. And you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is BUYWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go, a breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces. And both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two, these 2 coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there, filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. A little bit. I want to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you can pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee. And it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And, maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, on my set, in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center, and I will catch you later. Bye.